This is the D6 generation with your hosts, Craig Gallant.
No, cut that. Keep that. Someday it's going to be worth something.
Russ Wakelin. You put me on a boat with freaking dragons attacking me and whatnot? Now we're talking. And Raef, Hollywood Granger.
I need a new intro.
With contributions from Total Fangirl.
Vampires do not sparkle.
And our loyal listeners.
Are you crazy? That's like 400 hours of gamer nonsense.
Welcome to another edition of Rapid Fire, the roundtable discussion of all things gaming, coming at the speed of an erratically minded lawyer randomly grasping at the next bit of colored string. Today's edition is brought to you by everyone around the world participating in this year's Extra Life charity drive, and especially to those D6G listeners who have stepped up to support Russ and I in our attempt to help raise money for Boston Children's Hospital, including Adam Harder, Peter West, Phil McPeak, and Father Paul. And if you haven't given yet, please go to extra-life.org and help us help the kids today. I'm Geekly McNerdigan, your host. Today our panelists are Russ Equipage Wakelin and third chair host emeritus Raef Secarigoris Granger. What? Let's begin. Issue number 1. Throughout history, every culture has been confronted by the tiresome question of how to get a guest to understand that it was time for them to go when they had overstayed their welcome. Even today, it is difficult to let a friend know that you have other things you want to do or other people you want to see. And of course, when it's an idea or a concept that has overstayed its welcome, it's even more difficult. Question. In the 1800s in Louisiana, what generally accepted symbol of welcome would a wealthy plantation owner leave at the foot of their guest's bed to tell them it was time for them to go? Whitehall Plantation House, Wakelin.
I'm going to go with pineapple.
Afton Hills Gardens, Granger.
Grenades.
The answer is, sadly, much to my chagrin, pineapple.
Yeah!
So, Wakelin is right, and Granger's, however, is wrong! An uncut pineapple, of course, though. Slices of pineapple on their first night of raw, uncut pineapple at the foot of their bed as a silent sign that they needed to leave ASAP. Makes perfect sense to me, I guess. Issue number 2. No matter what the media, whenever anyone is telling stories about high school students, there are common stereotypical tropes that constantly rear their ugly heads, or pretty heads with pigtails, so you know they're not really supposed to be pretty now, but they're going to be pretty later on. They're so common, we recognize them no matter what they are or what they look like. Question. The protagonist in the movie Sky High, Will Stronghold, is just a regular kid who gets sent to the titular institution of secondary learning for superpowered students, Sky High, despite having no superpowers of his own. What teen trope is Will fulfilling? Red Robin Russ.
I forget.
Ronan Raef.
Okay, Craig sounds like he's at the bottom of a pool to me, so I'm going to say the villain in Guardians of the Galaxy.
What?
Incorrect. It is Stranger in a Strange School, of course. Tropes are silly. Issue number 3. Although tables of all shapes and sizes have been used from time immemorial for all sorts of gatherings, meals, business meetings, and of course discussions, although the round table is the most stated shape, said the host of this particular roundtable discussion of all things gaming, there are others. Question. Taking the traditional round table most often associated with King Arthur and his knights, should you cut it in half, what shape would it be? Mazged Rizgala Russ.
Looks like a smiley face.
Sarah Radney Raef.
I have no clue.
The traditional name for a hemispherical table lacking a central section is kidney shaped, and wherever Russ sits, there you will find the stone. Issue number 4. Wow. Many horror films in recent years have stretched into the dark realms of nihilism, offering no hope of safety, happiness for their beleaguered host as the final scene fades to an unrelieved, ominous black. And of course, within this genre, the most commonly nihilistic films are often zombie-oriented, where mathematics itself indicate that hope is not to be had. Question. What 2013 movie was heralded as the end of the zombie genre's unholy marriage with nihilism? Polaris Ranger Russ.
I'm nothing. I got nothing.
Utility Ring Raef.
I can't think of the movie, but the one with Brad Pitt in it.
Unfortunately, World War Z? No. Jonathan Levin's Warm Bodies, of course, the original Zom-Rom-Com. That's it for now. Thanks for listening, and good night.
This episode of the D6 Generation is brought to you by GameSalute.com. Check out gaming news or find out what the new hotness is on Springboard. GameSalute.com.
And by Battle Foam, protecting your army so you don't have to.
And the War Store, bringing the war to your door since 1999, and that is for a decade or more.
And by Conquistador Games, focusing on immersive and thematic games. More details at cqgames.com. Hello.
Hello.
Yo, yo.
Hey, and welcome to episode 155 of the D6 Generation. I'm Russ Wakelin.
I'm Craig Gallant.
And I'm Raef, Hollywood, Granger, sitting in for the show.
Sitting in for the show. You know, Raef,
Host Emeritus.
Raef, when you are on the show, you are the show, my friend.
Oh, well, thank you.
That is a given. So we're so excited to have you back on the show, Raef. And today, we're so excited, we're going to give you an entire segment, Raef.
One of my favorites.
Raef's Roundtable. What are we talking about today in the Roundtable, Raef? Can you tell us in advance?
We're going to talk about, is it really round?
The Roundtable. The Gen Con experience as viewed through my eyeballs, meaning where was Russ and Craig and what did they do? Okay,
fair enough. That sounds good.
And me. What was I doing?
And then we're going to review Kurt Covert's new hotness, Student Bodies, right? The zombie game that's really finally not a co-op zombie game. I love it.
I love it.
But first, we should talk a little bit about the Lost Chapters. You know, we have this other thing. We give Lost Chapters away. The way we do this is if you try to support the show, right, Craig?
Yes.
In some form or fashion, either through Libsyn by supporting it that way, or you go through Patreon, which we really like people doing that because they can choose their own level of support, how much they want to do. And as a thank you, we will give you a absolutely free, as long as you pay us, Lost Chapter.
Ah, indeed.
Exactly right. And this is just bonus content on the off weeks about, sometimes 40 minutes, sometimes it's even an hour of different stuff. And Craig, what did we talk about last time? Do you remember?
No, I don't. What did we talk about last time? We may or may not have talked about Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah, 40K feedback.
That's right. We did the old mailbag that we haven't done in years and years and years, but feedback was so powerful.
Passionate.
On both sides. Passionate is a great word. On both sides of the issue, from the 40K review that we did with John Regal, that we felt that we wanted to address it for the folks and let them know, one, that they weren't alone, that we got a lot of feedback on both sides, and two, what we thought and what we thought about the segment after having had some time to reflect.
That's right. Exactly. So
you guys got so much feedback that it trickled over into Hollywood land. Like I even saw feedback.
Oh, wow.
We did. We got a ton of feedback.
On the Hollywood D6G email. I was like, wow, what'd you guys do over there?
Well, the usual. We talked about 40K. But what's great about it was we also experimented with new technology that allows us to have a live chat room. You can type messages to us while we record. You can listen to the show while we record it. So you can hear the first test of that. And soon that'll be going live in the main show when we do achievements. We'll do that regularly. We're not doing it tonight, unfortunately, because I am traveling and I'm in a hotel room with hotel Wi-Fi. And
which we're hoping you didn't notice until right now.
We're barely able to communicate via Skype, never mind host a live chat room. So at this point, we're just lucky that things are working right now.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yes.
Yeah, basically, I want to have this disclaimer when Russ is like, so Raef, what did you think about zombies? And I'm like, yes, pizza is wonderful. That means that Skype bubbled up and I didn't have any.
Yeah,
idea.
I am in Terre Haute, Indiana, which is about 40 minutes south of Indianapolis. And it was really frustrating because we landed in Indianapolis and I'm all with my coworkers and they're like, we start driving away from the airport. Unfortunately, Terre Haute is south of Indy, so we're driving away from Indy. They're like, let's find a place to eat. And I know all these great restaurants from Gen Con right in Indy. And as we drive away, I realize we are in a culinary wasteland south of Indianapolis. There is nothing but like McDonald's and truck stops.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so not good food. And they're like, boy, Indiana has no... I'm like, no, you don't understand. We're just in the wrong spot. There's really good food just about 10 minutes north. But anyway.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Yeah, because I was all looking forward to some of that shrimp there.
Well, how come you could just get them to go
we had a deadline and work and stuff, stupid work. But anyway.
Work.
Yeah, so if you want to listen to all that stuff about... What's that?
Don't they know who you are?
Yeah, no.
Especially with
Yes, they do. That's the problem. No, it was great. It was, but otherwise, work's been great. But the good news is, if you want to listen to all this craziness, these extra 45 minutes, go check out Patreon. And Craig, how do they do that?
Best way to do that, Russ, would be to go to our website, the D6generation.com, and look on the right-hand margin. You'll see the link to the Patreon page. You'll go to our Patreon page. You'll see Russ and I in all of our full-color glory and blah, 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 why we do radio, blah, blah, blah. And it'll give you a couple
Speak for
different...
yourself.
Yeah, it'll give you a couple... Well, that's why we... I didn't say you.
Oh.
You're Hollywood. You're going into video.
Right.
That's right. High def.
It'll give you a couple different options, and basically it's just a way to tip us, to help support the show, and it goes to, helping us do all the stuff that we do so we can bring you the news and our reflections and Gen Con and other things that we get to do over the course of the year. And, it makes it easier for us to do the show that you theoretically like to listen to.
Right. Exactly right. So I think, Craig, what's it time now for?
Right now, it's probably time for Achievements in Gaming.
He's even got the achievement noise on the road.
That was
Achievement
great.
noises are back, baby. They were a little
On the road. I'm impressed, Russ.
well,
On the road again.
So anyway,
Like a band of gypsies, Russ has got his achievement sound.
hey, I may fail at a lot of things on this trip, but it won't be the achievement noise. So, Achievements in Gaming is brought to you by Extra Life 2014. Play games, heal kids. The good folks at Extra Life and all dedicated gamers like yourselves have raised over $2 million for children's hospitals to help kids get better. You want to help? Head on over to extra-life.org. So let's start with Raef. You haven't been on the show in a while. Raef, what have you been playing lately?
All right, so we're going to skip what went on in Gen Con for me, because I know you guys had your Gen Con episodes already.
We did.
The cool thing is, though, I didn't really play much at Gen Con, so that kind of worked out okay. I just kind of meandered around.
Cool.
So the big thing that I want to talk about is I played the new D&D 5th for my big birthday soiree.
Wow.
And that was fun. We do a scooter trip, which I'll talk about that in other. And then after that, we have an RPG day. We had a big crowd this year, too. So big that we had to have 2 DMs. Ian and I DM'd. We co-DM'd. I'm going to thank Wizard of the Coast, too, for, just cranking out a great game. I mean, I know Russ is going to gush about it, too.
Oh, yes.
It's just fun. It brings back a lot of old nostalgia. They really seem to got it right. And what Ian and I did was we came up with this premise which made it easy to co-DM. We were in 2 different rooms, and Ian's like, let's do it where there's a dungeon, and a wizard's gone mad. He's crazy, and he's releasing all of these. He's summoning monsters. They're popping out from other planes, whatever, and that could explain just having a menagerie of monsters in the dungeon. I'm like, that's perfect, because then he can go at whatever pace he's going at. I can go whatever pace I'm going at. And then we agreed that we would all meet up at a certain time. So it didn't even matter, what the players had accomplished, except just for the fun of it. Time comes, and then Ian had them fight a beholder, which was awesome. So the wizard was controlled and, cowering in the corner from the beholder that he summoned. And it was a little challenging because the monster manual wasn't out yet.
Yes.
So we had to kind of use some old stats.
There's a PDF file online with every monster you'd probably need in it.
Was there that before the monster manual was released?
Yes, Wizards put it out so you'd have something to use.
I didn't know that. We were using what was ever in the player's handbook.
No, it's got
additions.
All the basic. Got a couple dragons in there. You got your kobolds. You got a lot of different monsters in there. You got a lot of choices. It's pretty good. It's enough to get you by. I mean, there's probably a few you want, but missing. But
the monster manual's out now. I got my meaty little mitts on it. So that's awesome. Actually, I don't know if it's out retail yet. I got it. Demo copy to review.
By the time you hear this, it's out.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, so the beholder fight was awesome. Dave died. His character died, and they were just not knowing what to do. And we made this really cool too. What they had to do is there's this book, and they had to stop the ritual, end quote. Mm-hmm. So we didn't want to make it where everybody's always fighters and the fighters always win and have all the fun. So the fighters were just beating on the beholder and actually not just getting anywhere, doing anything. And it was the wizards / clerics, magic users that had to stop the ritual with the book. And I thought that was fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yep. So much so that Ian's D&D crew wants to continue to play their second edition D&D, but also want to do D&D 5th. And so they've asked me to DM that. So I said, sure. So we're going to have a D&D 5th campaign going on.
Nice.
Oh, I do have to say
so we'll never see you guys, so that'll be cool.
Correct. Yeah. 50% of the month gone.
Well, it's
not
more,
for me though, Craig, because I don't
that.
play in the AD&D second.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
He's not bitter.
Whatever.
It's not bitter. Don't worry about it.
I'm only going
I'm not seeing through anything. It's fine.
That's right. That's right. But I only play D&D. I'll only be playing role playing once a month.
Yeah. Well, you hardly show up anyway, so.
I do. I know. Well, that's just because I had a weird last week work wise.
Well, I'll be there,
Andy
Craig.
too. Like Andy's been.
It'll be you and Russ.
That's right.
You and me, Russ.
Yes.
Not you and us.
You and me.
There's no us other than you and me.
Right.
Clearly.
I do have to say this, though.
I
had the best at Gen Con. We did a Dark Heresy, my 4th episode out of 5, and we had all the originals there except for Dave and Andy, and Doc and his Ohio friends, Moss, came, and Jason came in, and Greg Silverman was in that too, and we had a real blast. Like, I planned it well, I had it all organized, and we did Dark Heresy, and they just loved it, and it was great.
Nice.
And then, since I'm keeping everybody in the episode, Andy and I had such a long ride home, I literally ran him through the same dungeon. He went solo through the same dungeon, and it was kind of fun, Russ. It was like playing a computer role-playing game. Mm-hmm. It was fun to see him make different choices.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So I did that. And then just in the past week, played Caverna, played Smash Up. Have you guys played that?
No.
I have not played Smash Up. I've heard good things about it. What did you think of Smash Up?
Well, I didn't think I'd like it. I watched people playing it, and it's made by the same people that make King Over Tokyo and King Over New York. I'm like, yeah, not so good. Hand of cards, got to add stuff up. You're basically like adding. You have cards, and you play them on these cards that are bases, and you have to add up these points and beat the base, and then I can mess with Craig, and you can mess with me, and you can mess with the base and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, addy games. I don't like those. And then I stepped in for somebody that had to go, and I really liked it more than I thought. So much so that I would play it again.
Nice.
So that was cool. And then I played Luchador with my nephews.
Cool. How'd that
and
go?
And they loved it.
Oh, awesome.
Nice.
And Lou and Emmy played too.
Very nice.
Very cool.
That's my story.
All right, awesome. Well,
Good
Craig,
story.
how about you, Craig?
Well, the play has started up, so I am a little busy. Don't play much games anymore. I did play King of New York.
Now, what did you think of King of New York? Cause
I don't like King of Tokyo.
Yeah, me, I'm not a big
I'll put
fan
that
either.
right out there.
Yeah.
Okay, not a big fan at all, and I think the price point is ridiculous. I really enjoyed King of New York.
Really?
Oh, interesting.
Yep, King of New York is it's different enough that I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It's wacky. You're fighting the armies. You're fighting each other. There's 2 people in the middle, usually, depending on how many players are playing. So there's it's not just that automatic. You get beaten if you're in the middle, and then you get popped out, and then. So I really had fun, and we played 2 or 3 games. So that was a good time. And then
What makes it different that you like it versus King Over Tokyo?
Well, I think the fact that there's 2 zones in the middle instead of just 1. So when you're playing enough people, first of all, you're in the middle, and second of all, so everybody's taking damage, and you're not automatically popped out when you take damage in the middle. Like, it depends on who you are and where you are in Manhattan, who gets popped out, if you want to pop out. And I can't remember, are you destroying buildings and fighting armies in King of Tokyo?
No.
I don't.
No, you're not.
No, so yeah, so that's all. That's
Well, that
all
already
new.
sounds better.
Right. So
and you don't.
so
not that this matters, Craig, but you don't have to pop out in King Over Tokyo.
you don't have to pop out either. But generally speaking, by the time you've gotten beaten that
Yes.
but no, so it actually felt like I was playing Rampage a bit.
Oh, cool.
Because you have the option, you've got buildings in all your locations, and so you have the option to pound on the buildings. And as you pound on the buildings, army guys come out of the buildings.
Oh, cool.
So then you have to fight the army guys, and if you roll badly, the army guys all attack you. The Statue of Liberty can come alive and fight on your side, which is pretty cool.
You're selling me on the game. I thought it was just a new skin. That it was King Over Tokyo.
Not a new skin.
Monsters.
It's not a new skin.
That sounds great.
It was.
I'm a huge fan of King Over Tokyo. I like the game.
Yeah, I honestly like. I when I played it, I was like, it's okay. But I thought the price point was ludicrous for what it was. This game's got a lot more. I don't know what the price point is, but it was a lot more fun. It had a lot more options for you, and it seemed like there was a lot more going on.
Wow, that sounds pretty cool.
So that was last.
Does that make you want to buy it?
A little bit. I have to try it first. I'm not sure I'm sold to buy it outright, but.
Right, because
I would buy it outright. I like King Over Tokyo so much, I would buy it outright.
Oh, well,
the only weird thing is my kids hate it. I thought they would love it, and they can't stand it.
My kids hate King of Tokyo too. They hate it.
Well, maybe they'll like King of New York.
Yeah.
So then last week, I actually had a nice little retro week. Last week was my last week of gaming, and I played Bang the Dice game. Had a couple big games of that, and that was funny because as they added me in. They were playing a game with 5 people. I came, so they redealt the roll cards. Then somebody else came, so they redealt the roll cards again. Then somebody flipped their card over by accident, so they redealt the roll cards again. And every time they dealt the roll cards, Chris Therian was a sheriff and I was a deputy. So it's funny because the first time I got the card, I was like, I got your back, sheriff, I'm a deputy. And then I kept saying it and he didn't believe me. But it was, and we won. So that was fun. Played Dungeon Roll. Haven't seen that in a while.
Oh yeah, that's an oldie.
How's the winter expansion?
The new winter expansion looks really cool. Looks complicated, and we did random draws for characters, and nobody got the new winter characters. So we should have just played with those, but they look very complex. They look very cool. Well worth the $5, but they do look very. It's much more complex. Like when you take the sugar plum fairy, take 5 sugar plum treasures, and every time you get a treasure, you get a sugar plum, and you give it to somebody else, and so it's kind of like all these weird little things. So,
Craig, you're my sugar plum.
Oh, thank you, Rafe. That's so nice. Played Disc Wars, another game of Disc Wars. Still really enjoying that. That is an awesome game because that's just in my trunk, and Pete and it was Pete's birthday, and he stuck around, so we were playing games, and I was like, well, you want to play Disc Wars? And he's like, oh yeah, we'll play Disc Wars. And we had the equivalent of a 1,000-point game of Warhammer Fantasy in about half hour, 45 minutes, and played this full Elves versus Skaven. And because just in the core box, you've got so many different unit types, every time I'm playing this game, I'm playing a totally different army.
Okay, I have a total irrational response to Disc Wars.
Okay.
I wonder if Russ shares any of it with me.
Well, I love Disc Wars, so just putting that out there.
All right. I've never played it. Full disclosure. I have this irrational dislike of the game because we're miniature gamers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are we as miniature gamers? And I know you're like, Rafe, I don't have a 5,000-point fantasy game and I get to play fantasy. But for some reason, I'm like, no, we are miniature gamers. Craig Gallant should not be playing with little pogs. He should be playing with painted.
I'll tell you this, Rafe. I had the exact same reaction.
Oh, good. Okay, I'm not insane.
And nope, I had the exact same. Even when I started playing it and enjoying it, I kept having like this, I feel a little guilty. This should be miniatures. And you know what? That went away from me as soon as I realized, one, I haven't enjoyed a game of Warhammer Fantasy, the miniature game, in years.
Right.
Because of what that game, in my opinion, was turning into. And 2, it's so fun and so fast and so easy that I'm getting the Warhammer feel, and I'm seeing all those cool units flying around the board doing what they do, but I don't have, like, I love playing the High Elves in Disc Wars, but I don't love High Elves enough to paint the equivalent of 4,000 points, so I have all these options. Not only that, but I have 9 other armies that I can choose from, thousands of points worth for each army in that box for my Disc Wars, and it just gives me so many options. There's no way that Pete and I could go, hey, we've got like an hour left before Myriad closes. You want to play a game of Warhammer Fantasy? There's no way we could have done that.
I totally get it. I gotta try it.
And as Craig hinted at, the rules are fast and fun and solid.
Yeah, exactly.
I like this game so much. I want Disc Wars Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah.
Please, Fantasy Flight, make
Interesting.
that. Please.
Yeah. That would be very cool. That one would make me feel a little guiltier, though, I think.
Not me.
Now, by the way,
Yeah, not you. This one would make...
Because I like the background, and the rules now are good. So,
Yeah.
stupid question.
Yep.
Is Disc Wars literally Warhammer Fantasy?
Yes.
Okay, so it's made by Games Workshop and so on and so
No,
forth.
It's made by Fantasy Flight.
Made by Fantasy Flight Games, who, as you know, has a big license for Games Workshop stuff.
Yeah.
The basic game was a game they came up with like 10 years ago.
One of their first games,
and
actually.
it was one of their first games ever, and it was blind purchase. Mm-hmm.
But it was a generic fantasy setting, and now they've
exactly.
they've cleaned the rules up, and they've re-themed it with Warhammer Fantasy.
Oh, that's cool.
And the special rules and everything really make it feel like you're using those Warhammer Fantasy armies.
Exactly.
All right, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Well, at least Craig understands why. Okay.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's that
Ross
time of
doesn't
year.
understand it.
No, actually,
I think he understands it because he understood it when I talked about it when we reviewed the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Got it.
And it's that time of year again, so my Theater Arts 2 students are gearing up to play Roman naval combat game again. So that's where they all made their boats today, and tomorrow we'll be having the big the big Colosseum super mega battle.
I think you should take it up a scale level and actually go play in a pool, and everybody gets a kayak they must decorate.
That could be too.
Like a Roman galley where you paddle it around.
There's so much extra cash in education these days. I could totally do that.
You should just have a car wash, right? Just have car
there you
wash.
go. Well, God knows we wouldn't be able to have a bake sale.
Right, you can't have a bake sale, but you can have a car wash.
Okay, moving on. All right, so that's what I've been playing. Russ, how about you? It looks like you've got like 300 games.
Well, this list is going to sound long, but I should qualify this by state, because people ask me, like, how do you find all the time for this? Let me just qualify this a couple things. First of all, it's been a couple shows since we actually did this because of the actual Gen Con episode and other wackiness. Right. Second, I actually now have 3 different gaming groups happening. Okay, so I have my normal with the guys, quote unquote, Tuesday night, which I shouldn't say guys because Megan and other women are there too, but Tuesday night gaming, which is a blast, and that's the one we've been doing forever. But then also now my kids, of course, now are becoming gamers, so I've got that stuff happening on weekends with them, which is awesome because I can play games and it's quality time now with the kids, which is fantastic. And then now, here's the funniest thing. I find out, like 2 weeks ago, that my office has a lunchtime game club. And I'm like, what now? And I'm in the kitchen, and they're like, hey, Russ, do you play games? I'm like, well, let me tell you a story. So, so now I'm like, oh, cool. So I've been trying to introduce them to there's one guy there who actually, in that club, who actually does have gamery games. Like most of them love games, but they play like a lot of trick-taking games and real card games. But one of the guys there, is on the Geek and knows all this stuff, and he's bringing in Coup, and he had Gauntlet of Fools, which I haven't played before. So I played Coup with them. I played Gauntlet of Fools. We had Munchkin there one day. I skipped the day they did Munchkin.
What's Gauntlet of Fools?
Gauntlet of Fools is pretty cool. So it has a vaguely similar theme to Cutthroat Caverns, in that basically you're going to fight a stack of monsters, and you want to be the guy who kills the most monsters. But here's the thing. You bid for which hero you're going to be. And so the heroes get dealt out, and you see all their special powers, right? And you're going to bid for that hero. But this ninja comes up, right? And the ninja's awesome. He insta-kills everybody. But then there's these weaknesses you can put on the hero. So, and they're all themed. So it's like, I can win with the ninja with one hand tied behind his back. And when you put the one hand tied behind his back token, it reduces one of his abilities. So then now it's my turn to bid. So let's say I did that. Now it's Craig's turn to bid. Now there's 2 other heroes there. There's a bard and somebody else. You randomly pull them from a deck of a gajillion guys, right? So Craig is looking at it now going, well, that ninja was clearly the best guy on the table. So he's got one hand behind his back now. I can bid on someone else, or I can take the ninja, or I can say, oh, I do want the ninja. The ninja's still the best on the table, so I can now bid him down one more with a blindfold. So now he's got one arm behind his back and he's blindfolded, but the ninja's still better. So essentially what happens is the players go on the table balancing out the 3 completely overpowered characters on the board until everybody's stuck with one and gets that guy. Then you basically run the dungeon with these guys, and you're essentially just fighting a card of a monster, and they keep going until you get as much treasure as you can, and then the guy with the most money at the end wins. Really fun little game. Highly recommended. It was a blast. and a surprisingly geeky game for the crew that we had there. So that was a lot of fun.
Cool.
Then I tried to.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So then I tried to introduce them to one of my favorite games. I figured they'd like Alhambra because they like all these trick taking games.
I've never played that yet. I want to.
It's one of my family's favorite games actually. So I brought it out, and they did like it, and that went over really well. And now I want to bring in Diamonds, which is the new card game from Stronghold Games, and it's a trick-taking game. And I played Diamonds with my family and my mother-in-law, and it's a really cool game. So it's basically a deck of cards, but they've replaced the face cards with just higher numbered cards, and there are the 4 major suits. But then what happens is whenever you have to play, you guys know about trick-taking games, right? Someone leaves with a suit, games. And then you have to play to that suit. And if you don't have that suit, you can play outside of the suit. Well, in this game, when you play outside the suit you play instead of the lead suit gives you an ability. And you're basically trying to get, and the game comes with a bunch of cool little plastic diamonds as well as little player screens that are your vault. And you're trying to get diamonds in your vault. So when you play outside of suit with a diamond, for example, you get to put a diamond in your vault. So there's all these little metas you can do. And then there's bonuses for taking tricks and not taking tricks and having the most cards of a particular suit. So it just adds a little level of complexity to trick taking. Nice game. It's really a lot of fun. I think it'll go over well at my work because a lot of them like spades and hearts and those kind of things, and it adds a little bit of bling. So yeah, I'm loving
I'm a big euchre fan.
Yeah. They also like Old Hell, which is just a really simple kind of variant on BS, essentially.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's a simple game, but they like it. So playing the games at work has been a lot of fun. Also, since Gen Con, I've now played Level 7 Invasion twice. Okay, so this game is like. And Craig Cena set it up. First of all, it's massive. Takes up huge amount of space.
Half of the myriad games.
Has fantastic components. You definitely can't help but look at this thing and go, wow, look at all the plastic on that board. It is a saga. The game has not taken us less than 4 hours. But it's so much fun. It's epic, but it's like an experience, and it's a co-op game.
Question.
Yes, go ahead.
If it takes 4 hours, how does it avoid that part where, kind of people start to run away and win, and then if you're in last place, you're just sitting there losing?
Well, it's a co-op. Hours. It's a co-op game. So what people are comparing it to, and it's not really a fair comparison except on theme, is that it's like Pandemic in that something bad is happening to the world, right? And you are all working together to stop that. So in this game, the aliens are invading, and you each command a nation trying to stop the alien invasion. Now, there is a semi-co-op element to it, which is that only the people alive at the end win. And in theory, you could do some things to have another nation knocked out. But really, the game's so challenging at this point with us. We're just playing to win as a unit.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And it's a lot of fun. And it's funny. A couple guys there don't like Pandemic, and like Joel, for example, does not like Pandemic. And he was playing as this game. He said, "This game is great. It's so much. It's just really, really nice. And it feels like a co-op, but just so much going on. You don't really feel like you're directing each other. It's just the theming of it. Everything is really a lot of fun. I really, really like it a lot. Cool. It is a big epic, but it's cool. So played that. Played 5 Tribes, which is the new hotness from Days of Wonder. Have you seen 5 Tribes, Raef, at all?
No.
Craig, have you seen this one? It's got crazy components.
I saw it laid out, yeah.
So it's got like camel meeples and palm tree meeples and little buildings. And it's cool, but it's a brain burner. I really, because of how the movement works, where you pick guys up and put them down, it's almost like doing Sudoku or something while you're playing. You're looking for all these combos. Really, it was really interesting and a very, very unique game, but you got to be in the mood to be like solving some neat puzzles, because it's not hard. It's just, and you can just play it very casually, not even care. But if you're trying to win it all, it's like you want to take a move that blocks your opponents, but at the same time does best for you, and it's really, but neat, really interesting game.
Ugh,
components are
terrible.
Awesome. It's not for everyone. I don't think it's
You got me at palm tree meeples and then lost me at Sudoku.
Yeah, it's not math like that. It's probably a bad comparison, but for some reason it feels like that to me.
Uh-huh.
Played a couple games of Gollum Arcana with Craig before we reviewed it, but I think we're going back in time here. Then also played Steam Park twice.
Oh yeah, Steam Park.
This?
I forgot to put that on my list.
So Steam Park's pretty neat. The components are cool. Did you like it, Raef?
No, I didn't like it as much as I thought I would.
Yeah, I kind of came away the same way. I'm not sure why I didn't like it. I don't really know. I have to think about it some more.
Reaching into the bag part was too random.
Maybe that's it. It did feel a little bit, I don't know. Because you're basically building a theme park, right?
Yeah, with robots.
With like 3D roller coasters and little buildings, and you have concession stands and stuff. But like, You know what broke me for theme was putting like with like didn't make any sense to me. Like, why would you put all the hot dog buildings in one spot? It really bothered me. Like the way you play the game is like all the stands that are about, the janitor stands must be in the same spot. I think the rule should be the reverse of that. You can't put anything that's the same next to each other, So like that just...
I'll tell you what, for me, it was one of those games that looks pretty. The mechanics are solid. They make, they play, it's playable, but it was like, 50% fun. It was like,
That. So then played Student Bodies, which we'll be reviewing later.
Oh, yeah, that was awesome.
Then played Ortus Regni, which is the huge game at Gen Con, which was advertised everywhere, was on the bags and everything.
What in the heck is that?
So I played it at Gen Con, bought it at Gen Con, played it with my family. So my girls really wanted to play this. That's why we bought it, because Nicole and the girls all loved it. It's a lot of fun.
Sounds like a type of sushi roll.
No, it's a card game. You build your deck before you play. So it's not a deck building game like Dominion. You build your deck. Each player's got a rack of cards they can choose from, and you build your deck. And it's basically a medieval fiefdom game where you're trying to build your fiefdom and then
I like that.
Assassinate and really screw your neighbor's fiefdom to the point where you have to kill their king, and you're going to be the last lord with a fiefdom left. And you die of old age, and things happen too. So like if you run out of cards, you die of old age essentially. But then you can bequeath an heir. And if you bequeath an heir, you can take your discard pile.
This is a card game?
Yeah, and you can reshuffle it. But then what happens is, if I have the cathedral, I now control the church. And you can't bequeath an heir because I now say you cannot have that heir because I'm the church. So now you got to figure out a way to deal with my church. Do you start your own church?
Are you playing these in front of you or something?
Yes, you play these cards out in front. So it very much like simulates all the things that have happened throughout history involving like kings and everything else. You can attack. What's cool about this too is as you try to do this to each other, meanwhile, there's this counter on the side that the Vikings are going to attack. So as you wait and wait, the Vikings get closer and closer. Now, the more you fight each other, the longer the Vikings stay away because they respect strength. So when they see you fighting each other, like, oh, we can't go in there yet. They're all strong. But if you get all political and stop fighting each other, the Vikings get closer and closer, and then the Vikings invade. But then you can send emissaries to the Vikings, which increases how fast they're going to come. But then you put one of your tokens in the bag for every emissary you send. And each time the Vikings attack, you draw from this bag, and whoever color comes out controls the Vikings. So basically, you send your emissaries to the Viking, whisper in their ear, you should really go attack Raef because he's a problem. So it's really really a neat game. I really like it a lot. I mean, it is, in the end, it's just quote unquote a card game, but I love the art. I love how it works, and I love what it's simulating. It's a lot of fun.
Would I like it?
I think you might, Raef. I want to bring it in and get some gamers on this thing because my family loves it, but I think the gamers would like it too if they give it a chance. I know the Ahern saw it too at Gen Con and they fell in love with it also. So,
all right.
But not a lot of people
play it.
Ironically, these guys spent tons of money advertising at Gen Con, and I think I can count on my hand 4 people who actually tried it out. So there you go. I'm not sure what that did for them. So that was all my gaming, which I know is a lot. What about modeling, Raef? What have you been doing?
I got zip, literally nothing on modeling, so I'm going to save all my time for other.
Okay. Craig, what about you?
Well, let's see. Because the play is going on, I can all I can do is model.
The old Craig would have built the 4,000 point high elf army. Just saying.
I just said all I can do is model,
which means he did a lot.
Right. Well, I didn't do a lot, but
you finished your. I'm cheating now. You finished your Strider.
Okay, I'd finished putting together and painting my Deadzone Mercs Strider.
Well, I have not seen this yet. Cool, because you have to play and you can't come.
No one's seen it.
Send me pictures. Why don't you tweet pictures? Why are you doing that to your listeners?
Because here's the issue. This is other. Okay, I'm going to jump to other for just a second.
Okay.
I tweeted. I learned from Russ that you can tweet more than one picture at once. So I did that with my ruined terrain. So there, if you want to check out my Twitter feed, if you want to check out that terrain, because I was very happy with the way that turned out. Well, that went all the way to Mantic.
Yep.
And apparently at Mantic, they started getting aggressive emails. Why are we not knowing more about this guy? Who is this guy? I need to know how he did his terrain. Because there's really not a lot out there to tell you how to put your terrain together.
You just got hired by Mantic, didn't you, for one picture?
No, I did not. I was asked to write as a guest writer on their blog.
See?
For one entry that will explain how I went about building it, how I designed it so that I can do multiple different level things, and how I painted it. So I haven't been able to do that yet, but that's what's happening. And so every time
I think, you're afraid to post a picture of your Strider because you'll get more work you have to do.
No.
This is what's happening.
Now I feel pressure, and I don't want to just take a picture by Strider. I want to put him against some terrain, and I haven't found the time to do that.
It's
so
funny.
maybe after we record,
All right.
I will. Maybe I'll do that tonight if Karen hasn't come home.
I'll
yet.
retweet it. Just tweet it out. I'll retweet it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So that is put together and painted, and I'm pretty happy with the way it came out, and it matches all my Merc guys. I'm super excited because this has been years in the making and I just never pulled the trigger, and now I'm doing it. I'm finally putting all those bits that I've ordered over the years to use, and I've finally put together my pre-heresy dreadnought.
Wow.
For my Sons of Horus pre-heresy army. And I've put together the first 5 of the 10 Terminators that I'm going to use with Max Mini, that's third party shoulder pads, and I've got some of those Roman like sort of loincloth looking thingies that I keep forgetting what they're called, like the leather straps with all the studs on them and everything.
Yeah.
I scraped all the iconography off the Terminators, so they just look like they're in plain solid plate. So I'm very excited about that.
That's
nice.
cool. And this is for
Warhammer
you're making
40,000.
a diorama.
No, I'm painting a Warhammer 40,000 army.
Oh, okay.
And my big impulsive purchase at Gen Con finally came, so I was super excited. I didn't find any games I wanted to buy. I didn't find anything that was really catching my eye. Mm-hmm. And then I went to the Dwarven Forge booth, and I saw the Catacombs, which are new.
Oh, they are cool.
They're new additions to their dungeon line, and I have just a crap ton of dungeon stuff from the Kickstarter, and I fell in love with it. And I bought my first ever real quote unquote Dwarven Forge sets. I bought all the Catacombs. So I bought Catacombs 1, Catacombs 2, and I got the Catacombs Long Wall. And a big shout out to Jeff B, who's a big listener of the show, who he works the booth and he works True Dungeon. Mm-hmm. He like goes straight from working the booth, and he runs to try to get as much of the play-by mob as he can, and he always misses most of it, but he invariably always comes for like the last 20 minutes of it. So big shout out to him for his support. Yeah, we're moving it to the nighttime, Jeff, so you'll get to do it next time.
Yeah.
So super thanks to him, and I got it, and it's awesome, and I don't have to paint it.
Nice.
And it was well within the budget that I had set myself for like everything. It was all my...
I'm looking at it online, Craig. I feel like you had that for the last dungeon that...
No, not this stuff. This is all stuff that the walls have skeletons in them.
Oh, okay.
The corners have... The coolest stuff is there's tea lights, like battery operated tea lights built into the terrain.
What's a tea light?
It's like a flickering light.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you get that, and then each set comes with 4 different things you can put over the tea light. So it can be a flickering crystal ball, 2 different flickering sized flames, or a flickering crystal skull.
Nice.
And it comes with like I can't even remember. I think I've got like 8 different terrain features now that have flickering lights. It's 200-300.
No,
it wasn't that bad.
So, Raef,
I was for the listeners.
Raef, I was walking by the booth there for Dwarven Forge, and they're like, "Hey, D6G." I said, "Oh, thanks for listening." He goes, "Well, we do listen, but actually, we know you because Craig's one of our biggest customers."
Yeah,
wow.
I do love me my Dwarven Forge.
He's the Dwarven Forge whale, if you will. You know, they kind of reel him in.
I'm not. There's like 20 people who spent more than me on the Kickstarter.
Craig, I'm very jealous.
Oh,
very, very, very jealous.
Oh, I'm telling you.
I've always loved Dwarven Forge. I always want to buy Dwarven Forge. I probably like you, I don't pull the trigger on it for, I don't know. I'm like, well, am I really going to use it even though it looks super cool, and I just would keep it out on my table if I could, and then you did it.
I did it.
I'm jealous. I'm doing it.
Not only that, but next month or the month after, I'm getting almost as much cavern stuff. So I could probably do a 4x8 foot table now.
Oh my gosh.
And I might just do it.
That is awesome.
So that's my, I'm counting it as modeling because I put it all together on my dining room table, even though it was already painted, which I am super psyched about.
Nice.
So that was my modeling. Russ, how about you?
I don't have much. I've been painting more of my Clockwork Angels with my daughters. So
I hate fighting those guys.
Great. Yeah, that's
awesome. So
now wait a minute.
Yeah.
Are you still doing that super tier 9
tier
list,
4?
Or are you just being generic
tier 4
crisis now?
Nope, tier 4. Just only Clockwork Angels.
I'm never playing you with that list ever.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's okay. I got Signar still. If you want to fight Signar, you can. But while I'm doing that, because Rose is still, my oldest daughter is painting her, still working on her stuff. And now my youngest daughter, as I think I mentioned before, at Gen Con, she got into Everblight. So she's been happily painting those guys as well. So now we have, 3 other players who are doing a great job with that. So that was, that's my modeling. What about other Mr. Granger?
Okay, other. Yeah, I've got a lot going on here. So I'm staring at my Xbox 360. It's gathering dust. I'm like, I really want to play The Walking Dead and A Wolf Among Us. And then I don't play it, and then I don't play it, and then I don't play it. Finally, I had an opportunity, and I played it, and I was such a blast. I love The Wolf Among Us. If you haven't checked it out yet, any of you peeps out there who have an Xbox 360, it's just awesome. It's basically it reminds me of those old adventure stories where you choose your own adventure. Mm-hmm. Just great.
Cool.
Very
Josh,
cool.
you got any thoughts on that?
Sounds awesome. I'll have to check that one out. Is it like animated? Is it live act? I mean, how do they shoot the...
It's the, it's on those, I'm drawing a blank. Wish Andy was here. He'd know what I'm talking about. It's those myths. It's like the big bad wolf.
Oh, like fairy
Snow
tales?
White and Cinderella live among us.
Right.
It's like that. It's that storyline, and it's a murder mystery. So you're playing out a murder mystery using those characters. Just freaking good.
Sounds like Once Upon a Time.
Yes, actually, it's very similar to that. This is going to sound something stupid, but what I really like about it is the 4 menu choices give you an option. And let's say it says, "Oh heck, you don't tell me anymore." You press that button. He doesn't say, "Oh heck, don't tell me anymore." And he's like, "Really? You had to go there?" Yeah. So they change the dialogues. And I don't know why I dig that, but it just makes it really cool.
Yeah, Mass Effect did something similar where you pick a short answer and then you get the more longer winded acting that covers the same direction. Yeah, it's cool.
I recommend it.
Cool.
Let's go jump over to the Scooter Gang. So I had my 3rd annual scooter ride to the beach in RPG. I called it Storming the Beach in RPG. I want to give a big shout out to listener Jeff Stachnik, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He volunteered his time and he drew a wicked cool looking dragon on a scooter. And I handed that off to Megan, who's in our game group, and she's a graphics designer. And I said to her, "Hey Megan, I kind of want this like retro look, like I want some faded letters or maybe something." And it's the 3rd annual, and she totally took the ball and like reached into my head and made exactly what I was thinking about, the lettering and everything. And what I'll do is I'll throw a picture of that up on the blog over there, Jimmy Django. You can take a picture of it, take a see of it. And then I sent that off to Custom Ink, and they did a fabulous job, shipped it to us in time, and all 8, there was 8 of us, but there was down to 7 because one scooter got crushed, not by us, by a prior user. So we're down by 1. And the Scooter Gang, and we ride up the coast of New Hampshire to Maine, and then we go all the way down to Massachusetts, which is about, I don't know, how many miles? 45 miles maybe. No, 30, I don't know, 30 miles. I can't tell. And we just had a blast. And the best part of it is because we're in a little pack, like a motorcycle gang, we would drive by people walking on the beach and stuff, and we'd take our horns and we'd be like, ee, and like waving to people, and they'd be like cheering us because we were just in this huge pack. It's just such a blast. And like, I couldn't get over Megan. She just looked like such a bad you-know-what, because she had like the biker helmet on and she had the biker braid going and she had like this like leather belt, and I'm like, oh my God, you look like a Harley chick.
She's a cosplayer. She'll just change. She's whatever she needs to be.
Exactly. She was cosplaying a motorcycle chick. It was hilarious. But everybody, the grins on people's faces, and so Chris was there. Chris T was there. Wayne, otherwise known as Wayne, and Jeremy, and Megan, and Brian Ahern, and Rafe, and Dave Farr. I feel like I'm missing somebody out, but everybody just was like, man, I knew this would be fun, but this is fun. And they just had a blast. So that was cool. I'm also been having fun using my extra time. I actually got another blog post up. I'm 2 for 2. I made a goal to make 1 blog post a month, and I did that. But mainly I've been playing around with all the video footage I took at Gen Con. So I have all this video footage stuck in my camera. I figured out how to move it off and put it onto my computer. And then I'll have to have a tech talk with Russ or something, because now what I'm learning about is the Canon camera shoots the video using a certain file extension, which then like this video editing program doesn't recognize. And then So then I got to try to buy this converter. They're like, oh, just use this converter. So I download this converter, and then the converter doesn't convert it right, and then YouTube won't recognize it because it's too big. And I'm like, wow, this is like complicated. But for some reason, I'm having fun. So I've been doing a combination of taking the video shots that I took, like for example, the Matt Wilson interview. Mm-hmm. I stopped and made the camera go maybe 10 times, right? Because I knew when I was filming it, I didn't want to just have the camera on Matt for 90 minutes. That would be super mega boring. Right. What I actually want to try to do is make it like a little mini documentary where, while we're hearing Matt talk, we'll see the big picture of the big Man of War. We'll see his booth. Mm-hmm. So I took footage of all that. So now I'm teaching myself how to edit that all together in an editing program. And again, that's where I'm running in at all the file formats and things like that. Yeah. It basically works like Audacity, but a little bit more complicated. So I did put up on my YouTube channel, I did like a mini mashup, if you will. I took some clips, just put them together, none of the extra B-roll footage, put them together, and it's on my YouTube channel called Raef Hollywood Granger. I'm not sure where I'm going to go with it or what mind I have to do with it, but I might even been tossing around the idea of doing a Kickstarter again. Last time I raised like $4,600. The idea I had there was just too big. So I'm thinking, you know what? If I just do this and buy a video editing program and maybe get a little bit of money to have a professional editor, maybe like do the end or, give me some tweaks or something, and I'll do the editing and maybe get some pocket change so I can explain to why Mrs. Granger, while I'm at work, trying to piece a film together. Then my goal is to kind of kickstart that and maybe get like Gen Con, Raef's Triptych Gen Con into some sort of film/documentary thing. So cool. That's my big long range goal. Cool. Let me know what you guys think about that. If you're like, oh my God, that's an awesome idea, or who could care less, Raef, just throw the clips up there, something like that. But I'm having fun fooling with it.
Oh, good.
Cool. As a side thing I'm having fun with is I'm playing League of Legends. So I'm also having fun videotaping the screen capture. Same problem. I'm running into the extension problem and the editing problem. So I used Fraps as a recommendation by a listener.
Why don't you just use Twitch?
Well, I want to use Twit. I'll check that out. Because Fraps supposedly is supposed to work with LOL, but for whatever reason it's not recording. I think it has to do with the hotkeys. So I'll check out that one, Russ. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm reading Wheel of Time again.
Really?
Yeah.
Again?
Yeah.
Who does that?
Yeah.
Well, apparently you do that.
Isn't that insane?
It is.
Just a little. Yeah, I think so.
I know. I don't know.
Was it?
I had the urge to read it again, and it's really kind of fascinating because
I petered out in the middle of that series. I mean, I know a lot of people like it.
I petered out in the middle of the first book.
I got to like the fifth or I don't know. I was pretty far in, but then I just got bored. I guess I don't know what happened there.
I don't remember.
Did you finish?
You're right. I don't remember getting past through the middle of the series.
Yeah, I got to the middle and it wasn't keeping me going for some reason. I mean, because I like the beginning of it. I like the idea of the universe. I like learning more about the universe. And I think what happened is somewhere in the middle, you kind of the universe gets really well established, and I never really fell in love with the characters. So it's kind of like, well, now it's just following the characters, and I don't really care that much. That was just me. I know a lot of people like them, though.
Which Craig will talk about. I read the 2 books by Brandon Sanderson, and he finished The Wheel of Time.
Yeah, that's true.
So I said to myself, I'll read The Wheel of Time, and then I'll go all the way through and read what Brandon Sanderson did to the end. Right. I think that's what got me on that path.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So, I mean, those 2 Brandon, I can't think of the titles off the top of my head, but those 2...
Way of Kings and Words of Radiance.
Yeah, I was seeing your title there, and I'm like, is that the title of the second one? But yes. I guess it is, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
They were freaking awesome. When's that 3rd book coming out?
Oh, that I don't know.
Oh.
He's now writing for 3 series.
I know, he's insane. The other thing is I've been itching to play Lord of the Rings collectible card game. I follow Steve McLaughlin over there at the WWPD network.
Yep.
And he's been doing some video capture of his own, where you can play Lord of the Rings collectible card game online somehow over some type of program.
Yeah.
And I wanted to play a game with him at Gen Con because I kind of want to make sure I'm doing the rules correctly because I'm not sure that I am. And what I thought was interesting is I listened to one of their first video casts. I only made it halfway through. And what I found interesting was one of the guys said, "Oh, I normally play just Lord of the Rings by myself, but now I'm playing it with these guys." And I was like, "Oh, that's okay. It's not just me who thinks it's really fun to play by themselves."
Well, hey.
So I got that. So I want to play more of that with people, not just by myself. And I'm addicted to Bar Rescue. Have you seen that one, Russ?
I don't even know what that is.
Oh my God. It's one of those reality TV, Spike TV. There's this character, his name is John Taffer.
Is this like
And
one of the way go in and save a bad bar or something?
you got it. That's exactly it.
Okay.
So I'm not going to waste time. I think it's hilarious. I'm addicted to it. For whatever reason, when I watch it, it gets me fired up in my own business, my own law business. And he kind of goes in and he yells at people, and I'm just fascinated that these people invite him in.
I think Gordon Ramsay has a show like that where he goes and rescues restaurants. Isn't that?
Totally.
Yeah, right.
Same thing.
Right.
Take the same thing, only it's bars. And
then there's the woman who goes in and she saves salons.
Oh, yes. This is a trope. I get it.
It's
It's a trope.
Right. Yeah.
It's a genre.
I like
Genre,
him
yes.
a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm fascinated by the bar.
Hey, if you like bars and want to know how they get saved, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Excellent.
That's my story.
Craig, what about you, man?
Well, why don't you go, Russ?
Really? Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
I've got, let's see. First of all, I did finally finish the Grim Noir Chronicles, which is a series of 3 books, Hard Magic, Spellbound, and Warbound. I've talked about them before on the show as I was reading through them.
Yep.
All of them fantastic. These are books everybody must read.
So maybe I should read those to the Wheel of Time.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes. In the name of all that is holy, read the Grim Noir Chronicles now.
Right, I'm cutting and pasting him right now.
Fantastic.
Don't spell it the way Russ did.
No.
Oh, okay.
The audiobooks are fantastic. The narrator is one of the best you'll ever listen to. Really, really good. But also the story itself is great. I would reading them or listening, either way, it's going to be fantastic. So definitely check that out. If you want to listen to more audiobooks, I would go to audible.com. The best way to do that is to go through the D6 Generation website, click on the Audible link.
It's not the best way to do it, but it's the way we would like you to.
Yes, because, if you go through the D6 Generation link, you will get a free book that you can keep, even if you decide to cancel, a free audiobook, and you get 30 days to try out Audible, and during that 30 days, if there's any specials or sales for members, you get all those things, and they do have sales almost all the time.
It's an awesome deal. You can't beat it. It costs you nothing, and if you click through our website, it helps support the show.
So, Rafe, also, I just finished listening to a really short story, also on Audible, The Butcher of Kardov, which, of course, is about the butcher from Khador, right?
Oh, my gosh. I got to hear that.
Which, by the way, they pronounce it Khador in the books. So I know that the pronunciation is Khador, but
you know what's hilarious is we're interviewing Matt Wilson, and he's of course pronouncing it the correct way since he created the game and everything in it. He's pronouncing it Khador, which I just can't bring myself to do.
I know, but it's in. They got the phonetics, the phonics. I know. Anyway, I'm like,
no, it's Khador. But anyway.
I didn't know Butcher's story well. It's really a well written book because it does different time slices in the butcher's life, so it kind of jumps around, and by the end, you know his whole story. But in the parts
the poor butcher, he's got a tough life.
Man, I can't look at that figure again now without shedding a little tear, even though he destroys my army. The guy he is like one of the most toughest casters to fight, and yet now I feel sorry for him. It's so like his little Lola axe. It's Lola. It's Lola. So wow, it's just really well done. I liked it too. I mean,
is that Lola Lola?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is.
Lola. Nobody?
Yep.
Anybody following along with me?
He met her in a shack down in So anyway,
Dagobah.
Well, we'll actually be in Khador, Southern Khador. Also just watched Edge of Tomorrow.
What'd you think?
Loved it.
Isn't it great?
We're telling you.
Is a really, really one of the top sci-fi movies I've seen in a long time.
Totally great. I know.
Really good.
And if anybody's like a Tom Cruise, oh really? Tom Cruise, he's great in it.
You know what? Say what you want about the guy, but he can act. Okay, just I'm just saying.
And he's made 2 amazing, awesome sci-fi movies in a row now.
He has. So
what's the other one?
Oblivion.
Oblivion was also really good.
I didn't get to see that. I wanted to see that.
Good rental.
Yeah, great rental.
All right.
And Rafe been playing the heck out of Destiny.
So
really enjoying
it's really
that game.
An MMO. It's not a fake MMO.
Look. All you need to know is that you can dance in this game.
Okay, well that's an MMO.
If you can dance in a game, it is by definition an MMO. It just that's all there's to it. Although you can also dance in Sims 4, but I guess Sims 4 could arguably be an MMO. Both my girls are addicted to Sims 4, but here's the thing. I got them out of Sims 4. I actually got them to actually start writing, and how I did it was I introduced them to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. So I meant to talk about this in the earlier part of the episode, but my girls are so in love with D&D 5e now. It is amazing to watch them.
Wow.
My house got struck by, well, my house didn't get struck directly by lightning. Very close to my house.
You got struck by lightning. I don't care what you say.
So,
and you're a superhero.
Power was out. So we went to, it was late at night on a Saturday, so we took the girls to
His
Barnes & Noble.
superpower, Craig, is he's super skinny now.
Yeah, that's true. There you go.
Just knocked all the fat right off me.
Fat right off.
So we went to Barnes & Noble, and there in the front of Barnes & Noble.
If we looked, he could stretch probably.
Yeah, that's true.
That's right. So we went to Barnes & Noble, and there in the front is the new Player's Handbook sitting there, 20% off because it's Barnes & Noble. And I'm like, ooh. So we're sitting there. We're stuck there for hours because the power's out in the home. So everybody's buying a book. So I'm like, I'm buying the Player's Handbook. So I'm reading the Player's Handbook. I'm like falling in love with it all over again. I'm like, this is, and I liked 4th edition. I had no problems with 4th edition. But 5th is just so much more about the fluff than anything else and the background material and how you make characters. And it does, I don't want to get into it now, but oh man, it was so good. And I started letting my girls look through it and they started falling in love with it. And I said, well, let's make characters. And they started, and both my daughters, after they made their character for like 10 minutes, they ran into their rooms and they started writing. And they came to like 2 pages of backstory for the characters. And my youngest is like, Daddy, can I read the Player's Handbook in bed tonight? And a little tears going down my cheek. I'm like, of course you can. I'm like, they're gamers. So, oh man, I cannot wait to play it. They're so pumped. They've been every day. My oldest like, I can't go to school today, Dad. I can't think about anything besides Dungeons & Dragons this weekend because we're going to play our first game this Saturday. And my niece and nephew are going to play. My brother John's going to run a character, so we're going to have a night. So it's going to be a blast. So I can't wait. So that
sounds fun.
So it's cool. I'm just really, and I started playing D exactly when I was 12, and so she's 12 now too. So I'm kind of excited that it's
very nice.
That we're just kicking it off the next generation, baby.
Baton.
Yep. So that's my stuff. Craig, what do you got? You got
and I can just see it now, like when Ian's kid's 12.
Yep.
And then, D, and then he's 30 something, and then D&D 16 is out.
Right.
Ian's kid will be like, nah, man, you got to play 5e.
He's trying to be like Ian.
I don't do anything but 5e.
That's about when it'll be on 5e.
That's funny. That was funny, Raef. That was awesome. I didn't see where that was going. Mm-hmm. I was like, why are you stealing Russ's thunder with this? Oh, there you go. That was very nicely done.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I am, as Raef said, listening to Words of Radiance by Brent Sanderson, and I'm really, really enjoying it.
How far into it?
I'm about 2/3 or even 3/4 done.
Oh yeah.
And where in the first book, listening to it, I was like, I don't care about Shallan. I only care about Caitlin. And now I'm like, Caitlin and Shallan are both awesome, but I'm resenting these interludes between books. Like no offense to the little girl who can make friction turn on and off. I don't care. I want to go, like, seriously, you just threw the main character into this awesome situation and then you go to these characters I've never met before and probably will never meet again. So that's one little thing that I'm like, oh, come on, I want to get back to the action, but I'm really, really enjoying that. I'm not looking forward to it ending.
No, it's very sad.
Yeah, well, I didn't even know
spoiler.
that.
No. I mean that the book's over.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I don't know if I believe you, but anyway.
Seriously. What I meant was that feeling of when you watch Star Wars and you left the movie theater.
Right. Okay.
It's that feeling.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, I went and saw Guardians of the Galaxy again.
Yay.
And never have I been so happy to be wrong in a prediction. So
what do you mean?
When you were I think it's going to be great. And I was like, no, Raef, it's going to be really cool for us, but it's not going to be as big. And instead, it's like biggest movie of the year. And I loved it. I've seen it 3 times. I wanted to see it again. So super
I have a
excited
confession to make.
What's that?
I saw people twittering something about Raef and Craig. I can't remember which way I picked.
You said it was going to be huge.
You said, you didn't call it Guardians, but you said there would be a comic book movie that no one's excited about.
One of you called, he called Guardians, and I was like, no, not with the stupid raccoon, and I'm going to love it. You guys are going to love it, but it's not going to mix with mainstream audiences. Not only did it, but my wife Karen took me on my birthday to go see it, and she enjoyed it immensely. And her favorite characters, the raccoon in the tree.
Yeah.
Groot.
So this is the girl that laughed through the entire Fangorn forest scene because she thought it was funny trees were talking, and she's watching Guardians of the Galaxy going, oh man, they put those two characters in there just to get girls. I was like, oh, if you say so. So that was good. I'm reading Galaxy in Flames again by Ben Counter, which is the third book in the Horus Heresy series. Still loving it. It's a blast. It's really fueling my my Sons of Horus army. I'm right now in the process of writing one of two short stories that are going to be in the Wild West Exodus 2014 anthology, which they had a big contest for guest writers, and pretty much everybody who's ever written anything for Wild West Exodus is writing short stories. And I'm finding it very challenging. I've never written a short story. Well, not since high school, basically. And I'm finding the form very, very frustrating because it's a genre that I've never written in before, because I'm not going to give anything away, but it's neither of my stories are in the Wild West, because it's Wild West Exodus, and why would I want to do that? So, it's a genre I've never really written before, so I'm trying really hard not to screw that up. And I can't elaborate on characters and stuff because it's a short story, so it's very frustrating. It's taking up an awful lot of time. I can normally, when I'm writing a novel, I can write between 5,000 and 10,000 words in a day on a really, really, really good day. This short story is supposed to be 10,000 words, and I've already been working on it for 3 weeks. So it's very frustrating. Speaking of my writing, I just wanted to make a quick comment on my newest book, Bastion, came out during Gen Con.
Bastion?
Bastion is what it's called. It's about the Holy Order of Man. So it's about the new faction, the quote-unquote good guys in Wild West Exodus. So that was cool. Actually being able to write about good guys in Wild West Exodus was neat. So I really enjoyed writing that. I hope people give it a chance. It's not like the other books. It is taking place in the Wild West, but it's a totally different view on everything that's happening. And you learn all about the Dark Council, and you learn what they are, and you learn all the bad guys.
Ooh, so it's like gives you the whole the inside skinny.
It is. It's a prequel.
So if you've been wondering about what all the things were, now you can find out.
Exactly. And you see,
that's cool.
and you actually meet a bunch of the characters from the other Wild West Exodus books and stories, but when they were younger, because it's a prequel. It takes place 20 years before all the other stuff. So that was really fun. It is not a baby Jesse James, but it is a ornery teenager Jesse James.
Baby Jesse James.
And because you got to remember that RJ 1027 messes with your metabolism. And there you go. And then a big, huge shout out, thank you to listener Paul Ingrove, who is an artist and graphic designer in New Zealand, I think, or Australia. And he really stepped up. Actually, a whole bunch of people responded when I asked for an artist. And I want to really thank everybody who responded, because they sent me pictures. They were awesome pictures. Ultimately, Paul's stuff, he could make stuff look almost identical to all the other Spartan Games portraits. So he not only did he do that for me, he did it to me in one day.
Wow.
Whoa.
So he took Peter West 2012 Extra Life winner of my little contest to write a short story for Spartan Games. And of course, everybody now knows the big sob story about how that whole thing fell apart. I sent him the picture that Peter sent me 2 years ago. And in one day, Paul was like, hey, what do you think of this? And it was amazing.
Cool.
So that's awesome. That's all now gone to Neil at Spartan Games. It's a dystopian wars story, and it should be going up on their main front page. Actually, by the time you're listening to this, it should be on the main front page, hopefully, if everything's gone well. So that will clear the decks for Extra Life, which is coming up next month.
Yeah.
And God knows by the time you hear this, maybe even Extra Life is over. I don't know. But of course, this year Extra Life will just be Russ and I, so that'll be great too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yep.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
So, in fact, I think I'm finally going to finish my Descent campaign. That's the only time we can get together to finish it off.
Oh, well, that's swell. So you'll be doing that. Everybody else is going to be antisocial and elitist, not even near Myriad. So I'll be hanging out watching people play games.
No,
That'll be a good.
That'll
be a good day.
Craig, I got
a
bunch of solo games you can try.
It'll be a good solo games. That's great.
You can borrow my Lord of the Rings card game.
Okay. So anyway, I believe that's achievements.
That is achievements. I got to go fire up Realm more because I got a D&D 5e realm to create here.
There you go.
The D6 generation. Not as smart as Yoda, but not as dumb as Jar Jar Binks.
Wise, the announcer is. Harold.
Hey, Craig, it's time to talk about our friends over at WildWestExodus.com. Yes, the oldie-time cowboy game with all the sci-fi hotness.
That's right. Not a lick of steam to be seen.
No steam to be punked. It's all good. You know, Craig, the Enlightened guys are just hitting the road, aren't they? They're out in force.
They are hitting their stride, Russ, with a brand new boss, F.R. Kame, whose backstory is actually very cool, very violent. And he comes with a whole host of flying guys.
Yeah, who is this dude? I'm looking at this Hellion here, Craig. What's the deal? He's got like giant mechanical wings and some kind of
that's
weird
what happens when
mask
you take
thing going on
here. You
here.
take a corpse and you slap big giant mechanical wings on him, remove his hands and replace them with big, massive hand weapons, and then send them flying around.
He's like a robot bird. He's like RoboCop the bird, but evil. Or is he good? Do we even know?
Oh no! Oh, he's evil.
Oh, good.
Well, he's dead. These guys are dead.
Okay, fair enough. Undead is never good, right?
You might figure that these guys are basically robots, but instead of going through all the time and effort of building a metal body, they're just using a dead human body and then reprogramming the wiring of the brain.
Look at K9, the CCLE K9 unit. Look at this guy.
Hey,
you know what's cool about this too? I'm on their website.
Dogs,
I'm on the Wild West Exodus website. I love how they do the pictures here because you can mouse over it. It puts a magnifying glass right over the model, and I can see nice and close. See all the detail, every rivet on this dog's like legs and body. You can tell he's a total machine of awesome. He's like a Doberman pincer robot thing.
Yeah. Well, it's very cool because there's a Doberman and there's a German Shepherd.
Yeah, right. It's just awesome. So, that's the thing about Wild West Exodus. Of course, the rules are fast and fun. It's a fantastic universe, great fluff. Greg won't tell you this because he's too modest, but it is a fantastic story. But here's the thing. The models, too, will blow you away, and just a very unique universe, very unique models, even unique bases. Just really, really great game. Nothing like you've ever played before. Check it out. Head on over to Wild West Exodus.
New stuff every month. That's the key.
Exactly.
New models every month.
And if you decide to order something from their website, first of all, ask your local store to stock them because they can. No problem.
Yep,
great margins. Order directly from Wild West Exodus. Or if you want to order from their website, no problem. Put in the code D6G 2014 and you will get some great savings.
That's this year.
It is. So head on over to wildwestexodus.com. And now, what's in the news? With a shout out, it's Extra Life time. Help us help kids via our Extra Life donation page. Head on over to the D6generation.com and scroll down to find the game controller with little angel wings for more details on how you can help. And now, the news. Up first, Gale Force 9 has announced the Homeland game based on the hit TV show. Gale Force 9 has announced the semi-cooperative game of intrigue, deception, and hidden agendas. Players assume the role of CIA analysts directing agency resources to combat the rising tide of global terrorism. Be warned, not everyone is as they seem. This sounds pretty excellent. If you're a fan of Homeworld, different game, Homeland, you definitely want to check this out. In other news, Star Wars Imperial Assault, one of the big games spotted at Gen Con preview. This, of course, is Descent meets Star Wars universe, real hot. All kinds of preview rules and other information over on the Fantasy Flight Games website. But the big news here is that it was pre-released at Essen Spiel. Yes, unfortunately for us who are here in the States, we did not get a copy. Sad pandas are sad, but however, hopefully this means it'll be shipping soon on the stateside. In other related news, or actually not related news at all, but in other news, is it the last chapter for Chapter House? For those of you who are fans of Games Workshop and following all the things they're up to, you will be aware that for many years now, Games Workshop has been in a legal battle with a company called Chapter House because they produce supplemental miniatures for their game that they claim infringe on their copyright. Well, now Games Workshop has succeeded in a court injunction to freeze the assets of Chapter House, which was just announced on Chapter House website on October 20th. So we'll see what happens going forward from there, but it looks like it's getting near the end for Chapter House. In other news, Sentinels of the Multiverse is now live on iOS and Android. Now, as you may know, there is a helper app on iOS and Android to play Sentinels of the Multiverse, the card board game. But now there's a full functioning app that is AI and everything, so you can do battle with the various foes of the mighty heroes of the Sentinels of the Multiverse. I think that's how that goes. Anyway, if you're interested in that at all, head over to iOS or the Android stores. And speaking of apps, it's time for the app of the ep. Wickland, what have you got for us today for app of the episode?
Oh, thanks, Notes Guy. Here I come.
All right, so I want to talk to you about a new game. Not really an app. This is more of a AAA title available on most platforms. That, of course, is Shadow of Mordor. Now, if you're like me, you are probably ready to instantly dismiss this game as yet another not well done Lord of the Rings game cash-in using other game mechanics of any other video game they could think about and didn't look that interesting at all. However, one of my coworkers came up to me and said, Russ, you've got to try this game. I know you're a fan of Assassin's Creed. It's Assassin's Creed in Mordor. I said, yes, but I've already played Assassin's Creed, and I don't want to play a bad Lord of the Rings game. He said, trust me, try this out. So, against my better judgment, I downloaded it on Xbox One and gave it a try, and boy, am I glad I did. Yes, it is true that Shadow of Mordor does indeed combat mechanics of almost exactly right from Dark Knight, Arkham Asylum. It is button for button, that game, in terms of combat. Yes, it is also true that it copies exactly from Assassin's Creed in terms of how you unlock the world, even climbing towers and diving down from the towers to unlock areas of the world and multiple side quests. You've got the vision mode, which is almost exactly like Eagle Vision in Assassin's Creed to see what's going on, tailing subjects. But you know what? None of that matters because the game's awesome. And you know what makes the game really awesome? It has the coolest respawn mechanic I think I've ever seen. When you die, just quick couple things that aren't spoilers so you can get the context of this. A, you are a good guy, but you're basically playing one of the early Rangers of Gondor during the early days of the rise of Sauron. And by the way, somehow you have been killed, but you've come back with ring wraith-like powers, and yet you are a good guy. More will be unfolded as you play the game. In any case, as you struggle to learn your ring wraith-like powers and are sort of semi-dead yet semi-alive, you discover that when you are killed in the game, you don't actually die and just restart from where you were like any other big game, or die and go back to a checkpoint. No, you actually die and respawn at the tower, but the world continues with the knowledge that someone somewhere actually killed you. How does this work out? Well, you really get some cool insight into the various orcs that make up the Uruk-hai army of Sauron, and all the great fun and the dialogue of the orcs talking. In any case, every time an orc kills you and you respawn, that orc gets promoted and moves up in the ranks. And you actually see the ranks of Sauron's army and see how the orcs move up and down. It's your job to take out some of these ranking orc members, and as you do, you can put holes in their ranks and make their army weaker, but as you do this, more of them kill you and move up in the ranks. It's quite hilarious. Even if a little dweeb manages to kill you in some weird way, all of a sudden it becomes an orc war boss. It's really, really hilarious how this works, and it makes dying really matter, because as you die, you're actually changing the world and changing the game. Really fascinating mechanic, really, really cool. Not to mention the voice acting's fantastic. The dialogue of the orcs is wonderful. If you've liked orcs, you like undead, and let's face it, if you like the Lord of the Rings world, this is probably the best Lord of the Rings game done possibly ever, or at least in quite some time. Definitely check it out, Shadow of Mordor. That it, Wakeland?
Yeah, that's it.
And that's what's in the news. Hey, welcome back. Now it's time to talk about our friends over at Conquistador Games. Right, Craig?
Conquistador Games.
Exactly. You know what my favorite game over there, Craig, is? Do you know?
What?
You know?
I do. I think everybody knows that your favorite game, Russ, is that awesome thematic game, The New Science.
I know, right? Be a famous scientist from the Age of Enlightenment, create cool things, publish your ideas, steal the ideas from others, build on their stuff, get famous, smoke a pipe. That's how it all works over there. I love that game.
And the pipe is essential.
It is. It's a great game. And that's just like all of Conquistador games, right?
Yeah, Conquistador Games, really, if you want to look at what they're doing, what they've done is they're focusing on theme, fun, and speed. So it's a nice, quick game, like an hour, maybe hour and a half, but a lot of depth to it and a lot of fun and just drenched in theme. From the artwork to the gameplay, it's just, whether you're talking about Road to Enlightenment, talking about all those different European nations trying to vie with each other. The New Science, of course, tomorrow, which is kind of creepy at the moment. everything they do is just steeped in theme. It's all about the theme, the fun, and the speed.
And remember, if you're like me and cannot spell Conquistador, no worries. Head on over to cqgames.com.
Which, of course, brings you to Conquistador Games.
In a world where board gaming was king, in a time when Kickstarter ruled the web, when every day brought more and more games, now, more than ever, two men, and a revolving third chair, and a girl, a total fangirl, brought a shining light into the darkness so that all mankind would know what to buy. They are the D6 generation.
Hey, welcome back. And now,
Welcome back.
You know, it wouldn't be an episode with Rafe.
It wouldn't.
It would not. If we did not.
Unless he was here.
If we did not. Well, he is here, so that's the good thing.
He is.
That's right.
It wouldn't be an episode with you,
That's
though,
point one.
if we didn't do Rafe's roundtable, right, Rafe?
That's right.
So
Every time we come on, it's always something new and exciting, so we thought a nice Rafe's roundtable would be good.
Yes,
That's true.
because Square is right out.
You can never go wrong with a Rafe. I always picture it as more of kidney shaped, but that's just me.
It is. It is kidney shaped. I want to be in the inside part of the kidney, the little curvy bit, so that way I look like I'm in a position of power. So I have that.
Maybe it's one of those
my
tables
desk.
that's round with a hole in the middle like a donut, and Russ sits in
No,
there.
it's kidney. It's actually
Donuts.
awkwardly kidney shaped, like a kidney with some issues.
Okay.
All right.
But that's just my head. This is
All right, well, I'm gonna get down to
theater
brass
of the
tacks.
mind.
So, Rafe,
Yes.
are you going to do Peter Lipton tonight or what? What's the scoop?
No, I'm not prepared for Peter
Uh-oh.
Lipton, actually.
Oh, man, I'm disillusioned.
That's not
He's
Rafe's
not feeling
Roundtable,
the
by the
Lipton.
way.
He's not
That's
feeling
Peter
the
Lipton.
Lipton.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
That's behind the podcaster studio.
Oh, got it. Right, my bad.
That's true.
Rafe's Roundtable, for those that are just recently joining us in the past year, Rafe's Roundtable is one of those segments that used to give Russ heart palpitations.
Yeah.
I would say, hey, Russ, I've got a segment idea. Cool, what is it? I'm like, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to keep the questions and answers secret so that you guys will just answer without thought. And Russ would just be like, oh, gosh, I don't know, Rafe. But they are usually always a success. So after about, I don't know, what would you say, Russ? Like the fourth one, you can relax. You're like, they work out somehow.
That's right.
I don't think he ever relaxes.
No.
Oh.
He's developing some good acting skills, though.
Well, he is in the center of the table after all.
I got the kidney. I'm in the kidney part.
He's in the middle of the kidney.
I've also brought my stone. See how that works?
Oh, man. All right, let's get down to brass tacks so
right.
Russ doesn't get too nervous. All right,
you and
here's
your
my
brass
concern.
tacks.
Craig, this is what I wanted
Yes.
to do. I talked to Russ a little bit about this on some commute in. Okay, so to work. So I want to talk to you about Gen Con. But my
Yes.
concern is that you guys have already talked about Gen Con.
For 3 episodes.
Yes. So I don't want it to be, Russ has to recant what he did and Craig did what he did. So what I thought
wouldn't
I would do is
recant. I stand by everything I said.
So what I thought I would do is take a moment, not in achievements of gaming style. I've actually have saved that separate, but in a, just what my experience at Gen Con is, what Russ and I talked about. He was like, yeah, I didn't even see you all Gen Con. So I'd love
That's
to know
true.
like what you did. That
Well,
kind of thing.
you're Mr. Social Butterfly, and Russ had children this time around. So
Right.
Yep. I
doesn't
did bump
surprise
into
me that you
Craig.
guys you did. Well,
A couple, 3 times.
I'm everywhere, man. I'm a phantom.
Yeah.
You're like a.
So that was my thought.
Don't
so
do it,
maybe
Russ.
rather than if we
Deny
start getting
yourself.
into, if I ask you a question, Craig, you're like, oh, I covered that. Like maybe just give me the thing. Oh yeah, I covered that, and we talked about blah blah blah.
all right.
Can I? Okay.
Yes.
Yes, Craig.
Yes. What? I said yes. I said okay and yes. Why is
Okay,
the
got it.
pressure all on me?
All right, let's see. So the first thing I want to kind of let you guys know is, so today's my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Oh, that's
to
right. Craig had to sing. I forgot.
You.
Yes. Chat room, please.
Happy
Yeah.
birthday to you.
Yes.
Happy birthday, dear Raef.
Perfect.
This is not the radio.
Happy great radio birthday to you.
Cha cha cha.
I love it.
I hate that. I hate all those stupid little sounds kids put into that song.
Well, some of the chat room
Russ.
just added that for us. That was great.
I told
Yes.
Craig because he had to switch the day again last minute.
Yeah.
And I said yes, but if we do record on Wednesday, it's my birthday, and he has to sing to me in the voice of a Roman soldier.
Yeah.
So I like that.
As long as he didn't also do it in Achievements in Gaming, that's fine.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we won't know, will we?
See how that works? All right.
Yeah.
See, now it makes
all right. So
the chat room's like,
skipping over Google.
Yes.
So here's what I did. So for the first time ever, I did the road trip.
Yes,
and Craig, you did road trip this time.
I did road trip this time and last time. But
last time. And Russ, you've been doing road trip the past couple times.
This is my second.
Second time, yeah.
Yes.
So my experience with the road trip is I always loved road trips, but I did think it would be a little too far and a little too boring. But it wasn't, man. The time flew. So I rode out.
You were with old Andy.
Yeah. I rode out with old Andy. It was just him and I, so it wasn't too complicated. We stayed over. Craig, do you stay over or drive all the way through?
No, we stay at a La Quinta, courtesy of Angelo.
Yep.
And it's awesome. We stay in Hershey, Pennsylvania, about halfway through.
Oh, nice.
You go that way.
Yeah.
Okay, which way do you go, Russ?
I go through Buffalo because wings.
Yeah, we went the Buffalo way too.
Yes.
And we stayed somewhere,
somewhere in
Ohio.
Hershey's a good argument because chocolate. So that's a tough one.
Yeah. That's true. See, wings versus I have never really liked wings, so it was all about the chocolate.
Okay, fair enough.
We stayed at an LQ in Ohio, so that was nice.
Yeah.
Angelo took care of us there. So anyway, so the drive-in with Andy, it was really fun. We get to talk about gaming and stuff like that. And so I thought the drive-in was fun. So that was good. But I think I arrived a day later than you guys, right? What day did you guys land?
Wednesday evening.
So what I do is, because it's a 2-day drive, unless you just are like, well, you could do the 14-hour. It's 14 hours roughly from New Hampshire to Indianapolis, right? So if you, which you can do in one shot. It's you're going to be tired at the end of it, right? And it's probably going to involve some late night driving because no one can leave at 7 a.m. But what we'll do is, because I have kids in particular, so we decided to do it in 2-day stints. So like Craig said, we stop in the middle at Buffalo, and that gets you 2 7-hour stints, which is much more relaxing. You actually have time to stop and see some sights along the way. And the kids, it's more consumable by the kids. 7 hours is still a long drive, but if you stop in the middle for a lunch or something, all of a sudden it's 2 4-hour shots, and that's a little more palatable for them. So that works really well, I think.
Yeah, what we did was we left on Wednesday at noon, and we drove 10 hours.
Yeah.
And then just had 4 hours on Thursday. So got up at 7 a.m., had breakfast, get on the road 8 a.m.
Now, how did that work? Were you tired when you got there, or were you ready to go?
No, we were ready to go because we had a good night's sleep the night before.
Ah, I see.
So, we got in. We did hit some traffic in Massachusetts that slowed us down. So we were planning to get in at 10:30 p.m. in somewhere in Ohio. I can't remember the name. If Andy's screaming at the radio right now, yelling out the name of the city. But so we did get in about midnight, but still woke up at 7, enough sleep, drove just 4 hours, and we didn't feel like we really missed anything. So, okay, we missed the huge crowds running in and jamming up the dealer hall. Like, we didn't miss anything. We both had passes, so it worked out pretty good.
Nice.
Excellent.
Doing it that way. So that was fun.
Adam in the chat room is asking me how the wings were in Buffalo. They were excellent. And I would have to say I would recommend Duff's over Anchor Bar. Just saying.
Okay.
So
we didn't have wings.
So I like to get in Wednesday because also there's gaming that goes on Wednesday night. Plus there was the sometimes we have
speaking of the chat room, Ryan, it's actually called the Hershey Harrisburg La Quinta. Thank you very much. Who thought about this chat room was a good idea?
It's already distracting.
And who invited Ryan?
All right. Anyway, so Raef, so you're getting in Thursday. It's worked out pretty well. So
it worked out pretty good.
Yeah, you're good.
So I was a little bit concerned because I have like 3 different groups of friends out there, it seems like now. So I've got all my New Hampshire friends.
Now, had you decided to make a different sort of approach this year? Because I think you had, right?
I totally did made a different approach this year.
Yeah.
So what was
Yeah.
Not to cut you off, but I cut you off. What was your approach?
Well, my approach was last year I didn't feel like I managed my groups of friends very well, and I felt torn in 2 different directions and not paying attention to anybody. And that just wasn't fun. Not last year, but 2 years ago.
He was the popular girl in high school that had the ponytails, so she hadn't realized yet that she was the queen of the whole school. Yeah, that was Raef.
That was pretty much, yeah. So I've got my Ohio group of friends who I've met through Doc, who I met at Gen Con through the show.
Yeah.
I've got my New Hampshire friends, which are like, there's tons of us now. I didn't even count how many of us there are.
Yeah.
And ironically, I didn't see Russ once. literally, I didn't bump into him anywhere.
You did see him at our event.
Yes.
Well, other than the event, sorry.
Oh, okay.
And like passing around, I guess.
I was gonna say.
And then the third group of friends I would categorize as like podcast friends. People from podcasts that would come up and talk to me. We had people there that we knew, and Luke Melia from WWPD and Steve McLaughlin from WWPD. They were there and wanted to hook up. So what I did this time around was I kind of just said, "Hey, I'm going to be doing." Like I planned ahead in my head. I was like, I told like New Hampshire friends like Dave and Andy, I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to be role playing with Doc this day from this period of time to this period of time." And then I told Doc, I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to spend, Saturday with New Hampshire friends." So I actually kind of made a schedule. And that worked out a lot better.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And what was really cool was Luke got to play D&D 5th, which he hadn't played a role-playing game in forever, and he got to play D&D 5th from with Doc as the GM. And there even was a period of time with the New Hampshire, I tried to cross my two worlds. Craig was in on this.
Yeah, it did not go well.
Oh my God, it did not go well. So Doc was going to run another D&D 5th campaign, and everybody was really interested in D&D 5th. Everybody being Dave Farr, Andy, Craig, and Ian. Mm-hmm. And so everybody's going over to where Doc and his Ohio crew is. And then Greg, I don't know, he must have had a low blood sugar moment or something, but he kind of
I can sense. I mean, he did seem a little hot under the collar about it, but I understand his frustration.
Totally. So he went into like a berserker rage.
He did.
I can't even remember what triggered it. It was like
food.
One of those.
It was everybody deciding they wanted to eat instead of play.
Yes.
And everybody and going and grabbing a quick bite became where you guys want to go? Oh, was it going to be a sit down? And so Greg as sat there and watched what he thought was going to be one of his major points of Gen Con, which was going to be this really cool 5th edition game that he really was interested in with a bunch of friends from a bunch of different places. And he watched that devolve into everybody splitting and going their separate ways for food. And so he got frustrated.
Yeah, he got frustrated, which happens. That happens when you're at a con and you're out a long time. But it was funny because the New Hampshire people were like, "Okay, I think I'll exit stage left."
Well, I didn't know it was Greg. I sat down, and I wasn't actually supposed to be in on the role playing game. I was
right. You were just coming to hang out.
I don't even know how I ended up there, but I ended up. Was I with you when I got food, or I got food with somebody, and they were like, "Well, I'm meeting everybody over here," so I was like, "Well, I'll follow along and see what's going on." I think I was with you.
Right.
And we got food at the mall. Yes. Right.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
It wasn't you? Well, anyway, it was somebody who was there. And so I went, may have been Dave. And so I showed up and I was just eating quietly on the outskirts of this group. And I hadn't noticed the big giant man I had sat down next to on this big, like, love seat looking thing. And I hadn't looked too closely at him because I didn't know most of Raef's friend. And then he started to like have his meltdown. And I looked over. I was like, "Oh my God, it's Greg." Because that's not the Greg that I know and love. And,
right.
So, I mean, he calmed right down, but he had a moment of frustration.
A moment of frustration. That's all it was.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, no. I was trying to blend my two worlds, put the peanut butter.
It did break the moment, and everybody did split up.
Yeah. Because I get some crap sometimes from the New Hampshire people like, "Oh, there goes Raef going off with his other friends." And I'm like, let's bring all the friends together in our happy pony world. And that didn't work.
Well, they ended up playing, right? They were going to play that new zombie game, the Survivor game thing.
Yeah, no, it kind of devolved further because the people that were going to eat are like, "Okay, I need a break. Like, we're going to get a break." And then Greg wanted to play that new zombie game, and I really wanted to play.
Now, which new zombie game was this? Because
it's the one that sometimes has a traitor and sometimes doesn't.
Oh, Dead of Winter?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. From Plathead Games.
Yes, from Plathead Games.
Yes.
Yep. And then, so then like a couple of the people, they didn't want to play a board game, and I didn't want to play a board game either. I just wasn't in the mood. I was in the role-playing mood, and I had to plan a little bit I was doing my Dark Heresy event that night. And so Greg and Doc and somebody else ended up playing, and Greg's like, come on, play. And I'm like, no, I really don't want to. I'm not feeling it. And then, that caused it. He was like, But it was, I felt it was a lot easier. And that gets me to one of my questions I want to throw to you guys down at the bottom, which is, what do you guys think about Gen Con growing?
So this is an interesting topic. We haven't talked about this much. I think I'm like the only person on the planet that didn't really notice it. So like everybody I've seen commenting, and like even Cody Jones, who of the podcast Game On with Cody and John, made I'm friends with him on Facebook, and he made quite a long post about how he thinks Gen Con has lost its glow and is no longer what it used to be. And I know some of our friends were saying the same thing, and for me, it was the same as always. I mean, I know there were more people there technically, but I didn't feel that the vendor hall was any more crowded, notably, than last year. I did not feel that it was any harder to get in and out of the convention than it's been in the past. And I didn't feel that the lines at the restaurants were any worse. The only time that we had to watch out for the lines of the restaurant any worse than normal was the time that the restaurants, it was right as Gen Con was getting on Saturday night, and there was also a Colts game. And I'm like, well, this is not a time to go to dinner. So we actually ended up eating one of the hotel restaurants instead. But that would have happened no matter how crowded it was with that. So I didn't really see it as materially different. I mean, I know there were more people there, but I don't know. I think I'm like the only person that noticed it. What'd you guys think?
Craig, can I go next? Please.
It's your round kidney-shaped table.
Okay. Interestingly enough, Russ, I agree with most of your points. Now, I didn't go last year, so I might be having mismemories from 2 years ago. I did not notice the dealer hall being any more crowded, except for I literally could not get in the FFG booth ever.
Yeah, but that's
I could have if I wanted to stand on a
Well, that's how they run it now.
That's how
they run
it
it now.
Yeah.
Okay, so that bothered me.
Yep.
I don't like that either, but that's how they. But
that was last year too.
Yeah, that was the same as last year.
See, I didn't go last year, remember? So, okay. Now I do have a really cool side story to that, but we'll get to that later. But I didn't feel like I was jammed in. What I felt, and I felt like I could get demos if I wanted them, and I felt like I could move around the hall. Here's where I felt there was too many. If you wanted to go out to the food truck to get food, forget it. The lines are just through the roof. You had to wait forever. If you wanted to go to the restaurant, now again, I went 2 years ago. In my mind, the lines were incredibly long and crowded, even on the non-football game day. I don't know how we got a hotel room. Like I had a hotel room from Angelo from La Quinta, easy peasy. But if I wanted to stay on campus, forget about it. It was sold out in half a second.
Yeah,
that's the kind of stuff that's bothering me. Why Gen Con's picking it on the same day as a home game with the Colts? I want to strangle somebody, either the Colts or the Gen Con people, because they're flooding. That's a nice area. We got all those hotels and all those walkways and all those food trucks and all the food. And why are they jamming it filled with freaking Colts people, or vice versa? The Colts fans are like, why are you jamming it, filling my restaurants with gamers? That's where I think it's gotten too big. Over to you, Craig.
Okay. I felt like it was too big in the vendor hall, but I think there were a lot of extenuating circumstances that made me feel that way. One thing that was undoubtedly bigger this year was the and I'm going to put quotes around it, which is going to make me sound egomaniacal, but the press presence at Gen Con was ridiculous. And what was normally a line of about 100 people to get the press credentials in the morning was like 300 people long.
Oh, yeah. See, I missed out on that.
You missed out on that. So ever since the first time they offered the chance to get in early for press, I've made it without really a lot of effort. So this was the first year that they offered it, and I didn't make it. And I'm sure I'm a little bitter about that. But the main thing was, like, not only were there 300 or more press people there, so that line was almost as long as the VIG line and all the other lines. They were accepting people's press applications in line, despite the fact that the deadline had been like 2 or 3 months earlier. So they had these policies in place, and they weren't. So that's nobody's fault but theirs, which is the first stumble they've ever made. To be totally honest, Gen Con has been amazing to us and has been awesome. And Stasha Kirby has been phenomenal working with her. She's been great. So this was the first time there's ever been a mistake, but it was, and I don't think it was a huge mistake because I only saw,
How do you know it was a mistake, Craig, and they just didn't want 300 people?
No. The people allowing people to fill out the applications while you're waiting in line, which makes the line last
they should have had
longer.
2 lines.
Well, no, they shouldn't have been. In my opinion, they shouldn't have been accepting applications 3 months after the deadline.
Oh, I got you now.
You know,
okay.
But he's not bitter.
You know,
we're not bitter.
no, no, I was annoyed, and it really did cost me my Thursday morning because I hated going in on the human wave, and I felt like and I've already talked about this, so I'm not going to talk about it a lot. But
all right, got it. I got you.
It really put me in a bad frame of mind.
So you should have rolled up with me and Andy, man. We rolled up to the press booth around 1 o'clock. Nobody there. Walked right in, got my press badge.
Well, I mean, there was nobody there probably at like 10:30.
Yeah, I think and I didn't. So I've tried to do the press early thing, but there's usually that long line anyway of all the VIGs and everything to get in. So you end up fighting that regardless. Although it's not as bad as the 10 a.m. wave for sure.
Right.
So I just didn't even. I'm like, yo, I'm with my family.
No, you got breakfast.
Yeah, well, I went breakfast, and then we went and we got there before it opened. But instead of getting in line or getting in the human wave, I went into the side gaming rooms, like Wizards of the Coast and everything over there, and that was open at like 9. So I walked in over there and just hung out, and that's where I got my demos of Golem Arcana and all that stuff. Yeah. Golem Arcana, whatever it is.
Golem Arcana.
Thank you. Over there at those tables.
I prefer Golem Arcana.
So then there's that back entrance to the vendor hall that opens up in there. It opens up there at 10:15. So the rule is that door. Here's my new secret tip for all you Gen Con veterans and newbies. If you don't absolutely have to be at a booth at a certain time to buy one of the 15 copies of the newest press release from somebody, right?
Yeah.
You just want to get in there. I would go into the open gaming area first. Hang out there. You'll see all the cool tables. There were demo tables set up with nobody around them of Sons of Anarchy and of Golem Arcana, and I was seeing these games first.
Arcana.
Right there, first, set up, all their stuff, before people were even in the vendor hall. So I'm looking at all this stuff. There was no crowd because nobody knew about it. Then what you do is you wait in there, check all this stuff out. The Wizards of the Coast booth was right there. I was looking at D&D 5e, all that stuff. Then after 15 minutes after it opens and all the human wave goes in, you go in through the side door, you sneak right into the vendor hall, and boom, Bob's your uncle. You're in there without waiting in line.
That was for you, Phil.
That's for Phil. That's I recommend that, and don't share it with anybody because that's my secret way to get into the con without
from
getting
now
crushed.
on.
Yes.
That reminds me when you're talking about that. I'm going back looking at something real briefly about managing my 3 sets of friends. Like Adam was actually in that group because I know Adam from League of Legends and TempleCon, and he's trying to talk to me after the show, and I'm like, yeah, I got to go because I had made that plan where I'm like, I got to stick to the schedule to get in the role playing game and stuff like that, and that was hard. Like I didn't manage my third the podcast / other people that aren't New Hampshire and Ohio, so that was a bummer. I didn't want any of the D6G listeners to think I was blowing them off because they weren't important. I was just like, oh crap, I made a schedule for myself. So the third group was tough. So I apologize to Adam if he got that impression. Not that he seemed to indicate that he did, but I was just thinking about that. So I like that too. I think that so the answer is okay. I pretend like I'm a Gen Con organizer. Okay, so what do we do? Like, are you going to not let people enjoy Gen Con? Well, no. But I think for me, I think I'd be okay if they fix the housing block situation. I deal with the food lines. Let's not have anything else. Let's not do this during the same time as a home game of something or some other convention, and let's somehow figure out this housing situation. I think if they did that, then I wouldn't care about the size.
All right.
What do you guys think? What would be the solution? Like, Craig, would you be like, cap it at 40K?
40,000? I don't think. How would you do that?
I don't know. I'm just asking.
But then you have the PAX East problem. So
PAX
East
you
sells out.
You don't
the whole
want
convention
that
sells out in like 30 minutes. So if you make it so the convention attendance size is the same as the hotel capacity, and by the way, it's not over the hotel capacity. You just got to go farther and farther for the convention. But
that's true.
If you make it the exact same size, all that's going to happen is the hotel rooms. Every convention goer gets a hotel room, but the whole thing sells out. In 15 minutes. So it's
you just what you're doing there is you're just pushing the nightmare
problem,
registration problem from rooming to getting your tickets.
So I think there's only so much you can do. I mean, you either
embrace the madness.
They're a victim of their own success, right? So they just need a big enough venue. The good news is the venue's huge. I think the convention center is so big that, and they've done a good job of adapting that it does not. You can get around. The vendor hall was
they've just keep opening up more and more of the ballrooms and the function rooms in the ancillary hotels.
Right.
And we saw that at the JW. There were giant ballrooms open that had never been opened before.
Right.
And God knows how many more of those there are. I'm sure they've got at least, even with 15% growth the next few years, I think they've at least got a few more years before they're going to get that so big that it's a problem, that it's an actual logistical problem that they, that they have to address.
Anyway, I want to get your feedback on that. Yeah. Well, this may shock you.
All right.
I did not demo one game.
Really?
Yeah.
That is shocking.
Isn't that shocking?
So, yeah, that's very shocking.
And yet
I'm
I still
shocked.
loved the dealer.
Who else is shocked? We're all
a single demo, a new game, huh?
Nope.
Now, let me ask you this. Had you played D&D 5th edition before Gen Con?
No.
Okay, so does that count as a demo then?
I guess I mean in the dealer hall.
Okay.
Oh, and I wouldn't call it a demo because I played a full game with Doc.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
We played a full 4-hour dungeon.
So you didn't try any new games. Well, every game you tried was all full game sessions.
Yes.
That's cool. Well, that's cool. I like that. That's neat.
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah. And yet I still loved the dealer hall.
Okay.
Now, what effect on your New Year's resolution did that have?
Oh.
That already failed back in January, dude.
Oh,
yeah, but
I
he
wasn't paying
keeps
any
trying
attention.
to convince. Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't because of that.
Are you just admitting that that's
no
gone?
chat room? Raef is still not on his Game Cleanse chat room.
No, Russ. Yes. Okay, in my world, I'm still only playing games. I'm still trying to play all my old favorites.
Yeah.
And if somebody walks up, well, here's a great example: Greg's Dead of Winter.
Yeah.
Whatever that game is called.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's new. I didn't come wanting to play it, know about it or anything, and I just was like, nope, not going to fill my brain with the rules.
Yes.
So what you're saying is you're basically standing by the spirit of your agreement with yourself.
If the spirit meant I will play new games as I see fit.
So
right,
let's we'll make something straight. It's failed. So I said this, put it into a grid, and it's failed. And we knew it failed a long time ago, and Russ likes to keep saying, okay, right, but what you're saying is you're playing new games. Correct.
Let's get to this. So, but wait. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So, you played D&D 5th edition. We kind of glossed over this. You played a full session of D&D 5th edition. The brand new D&D hotness. We cannot let Raef Granger be on this episode.
No.
And not
with
tell
knowledge
us
like that.
What you thought of D&D 5th edition. Raef,
yeah, let's go there. That's more interesting.
What was D&D 5th edition like for you?
Okay. First, let's start with I am a D&D fan, period.
Okay.
So
I did not...
Unapologetic.
Did you not like 4th? Did you like 4th?
I wasn't a 4th hater.
All right.
I liked that they tried something different. I like MMOs.
Right.
I played it and enjoyed it while I played it, so I was not a hater. Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean about I'm a D&D fan, but I love 5th way better.
So is 5th your favorite incarnation, and if so, why?
5th or Advanced D&D.
Okay.
So Advanced D&D is nostalgia. I wouldn't go back and play Advanced D&D, but that's Russ, you and I are talking about we've been playing D&D for 20 years.
Right.
So I played Advanced D&D,
Yeah, right.
Okay. Here's what's interesting to me. I thought I was the only person. I'm going to go to the D&D booth and I get stuff from Wizards of the Coast. They send me stuff because of being on the podcast and Jimmy Django, and I would get little teasers and stuff. I'm like, I'm going to go check this out. I like D&D stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm surprised that everyone else is liking it. Like Greg Ivany's talking about it. Ian's talking about it. You're talking about it. Craig's talking about it. We played it at my birthday for the birthday RPG. Mm-hmm. But let's go back. Somehow, Russ, they have recaptured the spirit of what playing Dungeons & Dragons is all about. Mm-hmm. It's easier to play. It's the characters we all know and love. It's the monsters we all know and love. It's got a 3.5 feel to it without being cumbersome with any of the rules.
Yeah, right.
Here's what I mean by that. You roll up your character. Your character has a certain set of skills. The leveling up in skills is not complicated. There's none of that weird. I can't even remember it, but there was ways to train in your skills. There's none of that. If you have the skill, great. There's a score. Most of your tests and stuff are done off of your ability scores. So perception now is just a dex check. There's not a separate perception
I think
thing.
It's wisdom, but close enough.
And they did this really cool thing.
Yeah.
They have a, quote, boosting mechanic, end quote. Yes. So now, if you're flanking or up above or knocked prone or whatever it is, you don't have to flip through the rule book. You can just be like, yeah, okay, it's 3-on-1. You get 3 characters against one of my
They have an advantage.
skeletons.
Or you have a disadvantage, right?
They have advantage.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I like it.
What does advantage mean? Roll 2d20, take the best score.
Yep. I love it. Actually, so here's what happened. So recently we had a catastrophic lightning storm.
Oh yeah, I'm sad that you lost your LG TV because you and I have the same TV.
I lost my LG TV and my Xbox One, and
and your Xbox One.
Yes,
that was brutal.
It was catastrophic.
EMP, baby.
Yes, and
I didn't know you lost your Xbox One
and the dryer. Yeah,
Okay, what the hell happened?
Well, it turned out the lightning strike was so close that I believe the electromagnetic pulse from the lightning strike went through the wires of anything in the house, pretty much. And anything that was either on.
How do you know your house wasn't struck?
Well, it wasn't that. I think I would know if the house was struck, but it was close. It took out like a very concentrated area of a neighborhood. Anyway, so anything with a long wire. So I was remembering my Physics 101. I remember that when you have a magnetic field, it generates a current in any wire. And the longer the wire, if it's curled especially, the more passes it makes through an electromagnetic field, the more current you get. So any really long wires, like long HDMI cables you have running from your wall-mounted television to various things in your home, for example, or really, really long network cables running from your Xbox One to all your routers in the house, will generate current even if they were unplugged or had surge protectors. So, boom, a lot of that stuff went out. So I lost all those things. Anyway, got a new television. That's good news. But here's the thing. So while we had this lightning, so of course it was very localized lightning, and it took a lot of different power. So a lot of power outages in the neighborhood, in the town, and when it's a bunch of transformers being blown out, it takes a long time to bring all that back. So what ended up happening was we had to go out because the house is out of power and the kids are freaking out. So we went to Barnes & Noble. So I'm stuck in Barnes & Noble for a while, and I'm like, what am I going to read? And I'm walking through, and there's, with a big Barnes & Noble 20% off sticker, the hardcover D&D
so you
5th edition.
Oh.
Yes, exactly right, sitting right there. So I'm like, I will read this. And I've been interested in it, but I haven't had a chance to play it yet, and I just didn't get time at Gen Con to try it out. So I grabbed it and started reading through it, and Raef, it was exactly as you described it. As I'm reading through it, first of all, and this is going to turn into a D&D 5th edition review, so bear with me here. But as I'm reading, and I've just read the Player's Handbook. I have not gotten into the DMG or Monster Man or anything like that.
DMG's not out yet, and Monster Man was not out yet.
There's my problem. So as I'm reading through this, a couple things struck me. First, it was nostalgic in that, like, when you're looking at the spells, all the ranges are back to feet instead of squares, right? So it's like it's old school D&D. Time is back to rounds, and each round is 6 seconds. So you're thinking that way. But as Raef said, it's very simple. So there's not the complicated, you're in a square and you make an attack. There is attacks of opportunity and stuff, but it's much more like of the moment. It's much less like the exact position of your miniature on a grid matters. Now, don't get me wrong, I like that part of D&D 4. I like that tactical element, but it does bring me back to D&D when it was really everybody sitting around a table, not worrying about their miniatures and just role-playing a story. Secondly, what I really like, they've taken ideas from more current RPGs and really brought them in there. My absolute favorite thing in the Iron Kingdoms RPG is character creation. What makes the Iron Kingdoms RPG character creation so nice is that you take two different classes and you merge them together, right? So you pick the cleric and the pirate, and you get a pirate cleric, which is just cool. You can do all kinds of crazy things like that. Well, in D&D 5th, they do something very similar. So D&D's always had backgrounds, but now what they do is you can pick your class and you can pick your background, and the combination.
But you can't pick your class's background.
Oh, very, very well done, Craig.
But when you do that, both those things inform your starting skills, and both those things inform your starting equipment, very similar to AKRPG. And so what it gives you is, and one of the backgrounds is, for example, pirate. So you can make a pirate cleric, or you could also make all these crazy combinations, like a street urchin paladin or whatever. And so you end up with a paladin who actually can pick locks because when he was an urchin on the street, he did that sort of thing. So you can do all these neat combinations. You can do
and they're fluid. It's not complicated.
Yeah, it's very simple. What I also love about it is the fluff part. So now they've got a whole 2 pages on each race. So it's like you really get the flavor and the fluff of the race. And you open another 2 pages and you get each page on each class. You get 2 pages on each background. And you really have as you read through the book, all these ideas of really cool character combinations just jump into your head. And it's not complicated. It's more a rich of choice, not a richness of complicated rules. Yep. I really like it. I love the advantage thing. As I was saying with you, Raef, I was thinking through the way advantage system works. So simple, advantage and disadvantage. It's so easy to fix that. I also like the spell slots, how spell slots work now, where you can actually take Craig, when you're a certain level, you have a certain number of level 1 spells and a certain number of level 2 spells you can cast, for example.
Yes, yep.
But now if you cast a level 1 spell using a level 2 slot, like Magic Missile, you can do that. It basically, you channel a more charged version of the spell.
Oh, cool.
So I can cast Magic Missile using my level 2 slot and does more damage and fires more missiles than if I cast it using my level 1 slot. But the fluff there is I only have so much energy in my body a day to kind of discharge magic, and so I'm kind of putting more of my day's energy into that Magic Missile cast. Really,
let's talk about some other things they did awesome too. So I played a Bard. Yep. Now, Bards are usually kind of tricky and they're just more fluffy. Nope, this Bard was awesome. Well, first of all, I played a half, for Doc, he gave me a half-orc Bard who played the bagpipes.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So you kind of don't usually see that in D&D because maybe that's not min-max and it's really just fluff. Nope, this character kicked butt because Russ, his spells would do things like you play your bagpipes, giving everybody advantage.
Nice.
So it was like, the spells were powerful, like all those charmy, bardy type of spells were worthwhile instead of sort of fluffy.
Yeah, very cool.
So that was awesome. The other thing I like about the background, which is why I'm a huge fan of Mouse Guard, and Mouse Guard does this, and also Savage World does this, is in the background there are hindrances, basically.
Yes, yep.
You know? So it gives you that ability, that chance to role play and or have an effect for negative things. Which, whenever I think that's there, it adds a depth of role playing that are absent in some other games.
What do they call it now? But there's something like fate points, where it's not points though. But you can. What do they call it?
Shoot.
Influence. You have influence, or you have
influence. Yes.
So basically, if you role play the fact that you role play up one of your hindrances, then the DM can give you influence for basically good role playing, and that allows you can then spend that influence at any time to basically give yourself an advantage on a roll, right? So basically, it kind of lets you boost certain situations. So now, I don't think you can stack your influence. So it's not like fate points where you can have 5 fate points saved up. But it's sort of like you have influence, you use it, you lose influence. But then you try to role play really well or do something really witty or whatever. The DM gives you influence back. And so it's sort of like one of those things that's just on and off all the time.
Yeah.
I like that.
And that advantage-disadvantage mechanic is subtle because, so Craig, if something happens and you're at a disadvantage, and then your Bard plays a tune and you're at advantage, well, now you're back to 1d20 instead of 2d20, take the lowest.
Right. So let's say you guys you're trying to cross a river and you're all in this deep water up to your waist and you get attacked by orcs and they're on the shore shooting arrows at you. And the DM can just very simply say, okay, because you guys are all stuck in the water and the muck running through it, you all are disadvantaged now. So that means the orcs all have an advantage when they're shooting your bows at you. When you're trying to attack back them, so you're rolling 2d20s picking the worst. They're rolling 2d20s picking the best. So right now you're really hosed. And you don't need any complicated mechanics and trying to figure out, is it +5, +2, whatever. But at that point, the Bard kicks some of his bagpipes, as Rafe suggesting, and now you're on an even playing field, even though you're in a disadvantaged spot. So you can really say you can role play a scene like that very simply and quickly without having to try to figure out what the height advantage is for orcs shooting down into a river.
Right, exactly. Yep.
So I like it a lot.
And the last thing I would say it does that I really enjoy, I've always had a problem with resting. Okay, so you're halfway through the dungeon, all your characters are down to 2 hit points, and the clerics used up their spells, and the magician, the wizards, they don't have any spells. So you're stuck with 2 situations as a GM. Mm-hmm. If you make it, quote, real, end quote, you're kind of like, look, guys, you can't camp comfortably for a night here, right? You're in the middle of a deep, dark, dank, dirty, smelly, scary dungeon. You're just not going to rest. So then what do? Okay, we go back to town. So now you're stuck either role-playing that when you may not want to, or you take this moment where you go, okay, you all go back to town, you fully heal up, you get your healing potions, and you come back to town. And then you come back to the dungeon. And then you're like, well, then I might as well just let them stay there and heal.
Right.
So I've never liked games that, and D&D used to have that problem. And there were some games out there like Mouse Guard, like Torchbearer, which basically say, look, when you're in the dungeon, you're not going to get a full heal. You're going to get kind of a minor situation. Like if you're tired, you might go to angry instead of tired or whatever. They make it kind of realistic. D&D's gone to that. I don't have the official terms in my brain. I don't have my player's handbook in front of me. But basically, they're like, look, I think it's short rest, actually. I think it's short rest and long rest. Mm-hmm. If you're a short rest, you get this, this, and this. And it makes sense, and it makes the characters go on. And in my mind, it makes it still fluffy. But if it's a certain condition or you're at a certain level of damage, then you got to take a long rest. And for me, it just doesn't break the role-playing moment. Because I'm not picturing people breaking out camp after they just killed a bunch of spiders.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very cool. I think it's very slick. And, we're going along, but I wanted to make sure we covered the D&D thing because it's really slick. So what else do you want to get into the roundtable here, Rafe, before we run out of time?
Well, I think the last thing I want to talk about, so Russ, just so you're not nervous, I'm not covering all these bullets. These are just some of the area topics. There's 2 last things I want to talk about. One was, so what I did do at Gen Con that I've never done before was I bought a really cool wooden dice box.
Ooh.
I want to give these guys a shout out because they're right down in Massachusetts from Wormwood Gaming. And all this is a very, you can get different woods, you can get pine, oak, and whatever, but I got some sort of like that African, like zebra wood or South American zebra wood, and it's just rounded and polished and looks really cool, and you can put all your D&D dice in them. It's like a pen case, it's like a wooden pen case, and they're magnetic.
How many dice does it fit?
It'll fit, there's
like
different
one
sizes.
set?
Yeah, there's different sizes of them. You could get the ones that'll fit a full tube of dungeon dice, which is 1d6, 1d4, 1d8, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, one of each.
And then you can get a length of it that would fit all that plus, 4 more, d6s or whatever else.
Yeah.
And here's what I really like, Russ. They put just foam in it so they don't rattle.
Oh, nice.
I don't know. I just liked it. Now, I probably paid like $36 for this dice thing.
Uh-huh.
But I'm okay with it because I wasn't buying any games, and I was fine. And I got a lot of laughs from people. Like Andy's laughing at me. He's like, "Oh my God, I would never, pay for that." And Ian walks up and goes, Rich can make that. And I'm like, there's no doubt in my mind, Rich can make that, but he ain't right here selling one that I can own.
Right.
So I got a lot of flack from the crew. It's my favorite possession. I've got a cool kind of memento. I don't know. What do you guys? Oh, let me tell you my other memento, and then get your 2 cents on that, and then I'll tell you about the video that I shot. The other thing I bought was one of those. It was a journal, but it was leather wrapped in such a way that it looks like skin, and it's got one big eye coming out of it.
Yeah,
did you guys see those journals?
Yeah, they've pretty much been making the convention rounds for the last couple of years. I saw.
Oh, okay. They were new to me.
Yeah.
So I bought that.
They're cool looking. They're very cool looking.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 things that I bought.
That's cool. I think there's nothing
Well,
wrong with
I
that.
think if you like it, then who cares
Right.
what everybody else? I mean, like it, as bizarre as it is, that luchador wrestling ring has been my favorite gaming possession for months now.
It's kind of like that, Craig. Yep.
That's silly, but yeah, no,
I
mean,
very happy with the purchase. By the way, I looked up these guys' Kickstarter. They were asking for $2,000.
Yeah.
They raised $83,000.
Oh, cool. To do what?
To make these boxes.
The boxes, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So they were cool. I got an interview of them, and that leads to thing number 2. So as Craig and Russ know, and Craig witnessed it laughing at me when we were doing the Matt Wilson interview, is I took a lot of video. At the last minute, I'm in my building at work, and one of the guys has a handheld camera, and I'm like, hey, can I borrow that for Gen Con? No plans, didn't know what I was going to do with it. So I just started shooting video, and I shot it in a way that I had a design to later be able to put this all together and do the documentary. So I didn't go planning to do it. It was like serendipitous. I'm like walking down the hall. He has the camera in his hand. I'm like, oh yeah, I was going to like borrow that last 2 years. I'm like, hey, his name's Jim. I'm like, hey Jim, can I borrow your camera? Yeah. Borrow the camera. Shot some stuff with Andy, shot some stuff on the way out. I had so much fun. I think this is why I didn't do a demo, Russ. I had so much fun actually filming stuff and putting stuff in my mind together that I probably spent maybe 8 hours in the vendor hall filming.
Wow.
Yeah. So I had fun. So I'm really, really, really looking forward to putting it all together. I have 3 different visions. I've got like interviews that I did, and I'd like to piece those together. But here's what was cool, right? So Matt Wilson talked to us for 90 minutes, and they're going to hear that in this episode, right, Russ?
Yeah, the episode coming up next week.
Yeah, it's going to be there, and I'll upload it too. But I'm going to wait till the show comes out. And so Russ and I got to talk to Matt Wilson for 90 minutes. Well, I quickly realized that filming Matt Wilson for 90 minutes holding a handheld camera would be completely and utterly boring, right? That's going to get boring after maybe 5 minutes. So I purposely would shoot what they call B-roll. So I'm shooting other Privateer Press stuff. I'm shooting Jeremy and Megan walking around as their War Machine cosplay, all in my mind thinking, oh, this is going to be really cool, over the Matt Wilson interview, basically.
Right.
And now I'm going through the process of, okay, how do I piece these segments together? Because they're all just these little vignettes, if you would. So I need to get a video software. Then I got to learn. Now, here's the interesting thing. My handheld does pick up sound. And it actually picked up sound pretty good. But Craig was recording the sound using the D6G recorder.
Yes.
So now I'm going to learn and teach myself how to overlay the sound, match it with the video. Am I going to narrate any parts of it? So I'm just having a really fun time thinking about that.
Cool.
And I was thinking about, maybe I'll relaunch my Kickstarter. I mean, my Kickstarter last time I was asking for like $40,000 because that was the advice I was given from people out in the film industry. Like, you got to have camera crew and you got to pay for per diems and blah, 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 and fly to here. And I'm like, oh my God, I raised like $4,600 last time.
You're doing guerrilla documentary now.
Right.
So I'm like, maybe what I'll do now, I'm not ready because I don't know what I even need yet, but I'm doing the research to find what video editing thingies do I need. I'm going to edit the film myself, read some books on it. I do want to be able to have a professional editor sort of like go, okay, you noob. You know, everybody knows you don't do X, Y, and Q. So I want to get some money to give them to help me with that. And then I'm going to put some stuff together. So at some point down the road, I'm hoping to put a little mini Kickstarter together, maybe raise as much money as we did before, have an excuse why I'm explaining to my wife why I'm taking a work day to make a film, have some cashola for that, maybe even get some better camera, maybe if people think this is a good idea and they like what they see. Oh, and I have video now that I can upload for the Kickstarter.
Oh, cool.
So I'm kind of excited about it. It's infused me with more energy than I thought I would have.
Nice.
So anyway, I wanted to tell you guys about that.
Cool. So, Rafe, in the end, did you have a good Gen Con?
Yes, and even being all crowded and everything, so glad I went, and it was awesome fun.
Are you going to go again?
Yes, I plan to go again, especially if this filming thing comes together in my brain the way it was. I've already screwed up. I thought I hit record when I was filming some interviews, and I wasn't. Not the Matt Wilson one, but other ones. I'm like, gosh, dang it, and I'm going to do the sound better and blah blah blah. Yeah, I'm already got ideas for that.
Great.
Oh, cool.
Well,
wait, Craig, you don't want to laugh at me a little bit with the Matt Wilson thing?
No, I don't know that I was laughing at you that much because I thought it was very cool because it got us into a closed restaurant. Right? Normally we do the Matt Wilson interview in a bar or walking on the sidewalk. Long-time listeners will remember that one. And this year we were in the bar and Rafe went up to the hostess and said, "Look, I'm going to be filming this, and the lighting isn't great here. Do you think we could go into the restaurant, which was closed?" And she let us into this closed restaurant because the lighting wasn't good enough in the bar. It was crazy. Yes, it's funny with him like literally holding the camera in Matt Wilson's face while Matt Wilson talks, and then Matt Wilson is the one who. What did he call us?
The anti-entourage.
The anti-raj or the anti-entourage. And so that was funny. So then you have to roll. Matt Wilson hands you a joke like that. You got to run with it. But no, I thought it was cool that you were doing that.
Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, it looked funny, but it added a cool little element to it.
Yeah, Russ, I know we're running long, but you had to see their faces when Matt's talking.
I wasn't laughing at you. I was laughing near you.
Right,
near
your
me.
proximity.
So, Russ, I'm filming Matt. I'm straight on. And then, he's talking. I turn the camera off. I get up and I go to a different angle because I want to shoot him.
Right.
It was very
visually
funny.
Interesting.
It was very funny because he kept changing angles. And
yeah.
Matt Wilson
and
just kept looking at him funny.
And,
yeah, it was funny.
Even Matt himself, because he's kind of gotten to know us, and he's like, oh, geez. He sees me coming from a different angle. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to getting those little vignettes up there and having some fun with that.
Nice.
Very cool. Very cool.
Oh, so if you want to see all that, that's I have a new YouTube channel. It's called Raef Hollywood Granger. That's the YouTube channel. Please subscribe to it. I have 8 subscribers so far and 111 views, Russ.
Nice.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. And all that's up there now are just little test shots. So it'll get a little better when I put bigger segments up there. But yeah, let me know what you think about that. I'm interested to hear. Interesting if you think this Kickstarter is a good idea or just a waste of time. So let me know, all of you, what you think out there. And I do have a Do You Know Who I Am moment, but I'll save that for the next segment. The last segment.
All right.
Or the first thing. Whatever.
Whatever. You never know what these things are going to show on the show.
You never can tell. Time travel.
Thanks for joining us, Rafe, and we'll be back a little later after these messages and Rafe's Hollywood Minute and Total Fangirl. A little later, we'll be doing a review of, I'm pretty sure it's going to be, what do you guys think? I think we should review
brains,
student bodies,
and final exams,
and pencils in the eye.
Pencils in the eye.
This is Total Fangirl. Regular Jane most days, Total Fangirl when the moment strikes. Han shot first. Starbuck is a guy. And Lestat, now there's a vampire. Hey everyone, this is Nicole, your Total Fangirl. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicole Wakeland and check out my blog, TotalFangirl.com. This week's shout out is to all of our wonderful supporters over at Patreon. Head over to patreon.com/the D6 Generation and you too can support the show. So this weekend was New York Comic Con. It is the Monday after the convention, and I didn't go this year. It was the first time that I haven't been in quite a few years, and part of why I didn't go is I just had a lot happening, had a lot of travel, had a lot of business stuff that I was doing that was fun, but it's still business travel, and sometimes you just want to be home. And I thought there was nothing in particular I was really super duperly looking forward to at the convention this year, although I was sad to miss some of the people that I get to see there each year. I decided not to go. And I was a little bit sad because as, the news started coming in my feed about what was happening, I kind of thought, oh man, I could have been there. That could have been fun. Or I could have gone to that panel, or I could have gone to that party, or I could have done that thing. And I was a little sad, but a large part of why I didn't go, I realized, and why I was happier to be at home was because of Gen Con. And Gen Con this year, as you guys all know, we took Rose and Kit with us. So it was me and Russ and Rose and Kit. So it was the four of us at a great big old ginormous convention. Gen Con is not even close to as big or crazy as New York Comic Con. For crying out loud, it's in New York City. That lends a certain amount of crazy to it that you just can't avoid. But as I was thinking about why I didn't want to go, it was kind of, part of it was work, part of it was travel, part of it was just wanting a break, and part of it was, I can't bring the kids. I'm just going to go for 4 days and it'll be fun, but I won't be able to bring them. And Russ wasn't about to, take 4 days off from work, or 2 days, whatever he would have. He was actually, as a matter of fact, in Las Vegas traveling. So he wouldn't have been able to come with me. So it would have been just me. And in the years past, I didn't care. I thought, oh, that's fine. I'll just go. I'll have a great time for the weekend. I'll see all my nerdy stuff. I'll do my nerdy things. And, that'll be that. But after having such an amazing time bringing my kids to a big convention at Gen Con this year, I really didn't want to go if I couldn't bring them. And there was nothing that said that I couldn't, but I thought, do I really want to pull them out of school right now for a couple of days to go to New York? And Russ couldn't come either. And so I didn't go. And in the end, I think I have to blame Gen Con for making me not want to go to New York Comic Con, because it was such an amazing experience to do that trip with the kids. I can't wait to go back to Gen Con again with the kids next year. It's October. I have a few months to wait, but I'm really looking forward to that. And the thought of going to the conventions with them is more fun now than the thought of going to conventions without them. Saying that, they're 10 and 12 years old. There was a time when they were very little where getting away was like, oh, you so needed the break. Those of you that have kids will totally get where I'm coming from. But now they're at an age where it's so much fun to go with them that it's almost like I'd rather go with them, because that makes it more fun. I enjoy seeing it through their eyes. I enjoy sharing the things that I've experienced before, sharing that with them for the first time and seeing what they think of it. So this year, there was no New York Comic Con for me. I didn't see the cool panels. I didn't see the cool cosplay. I didn't get to hang out in loud bars with my friends, drinking too many drinks and eating overpriced food and, just hanging out and having fun. But instead, I was home this weekend and I hung out with my family and they played D&D and I laughed at what was happening while they played Dungeons and Dragons with my brother-in-law and his 2 kids, and they had a giant sleepover, and my husband and I went to dinner last night, just us grown-ups, and today I actually drove NASCAR up at Loudon's Raceway for an experience that I also would not have fit in had I gone to New York Comic Con this year. So I think I have to blame Gen Con for making me miss out, or maybe what I actually need to do is to thank Gen Con, because now I really want to take my kids to conventions, and I think it's best when we do it together as a family.
That's the sound of Vic the Viking telling us to go check out thewarstore.com.
He's coming over the hill. Man, you cannot find a better online store than the War Store. These guys have the best prices on the net. Mm-hmm. They've got the best customer service, and man, they have everything. And of course, they've got a pipeline into the gaming community that gives them all kinds of cool opportunities that you can't get anywhere else. We're talking Well, now the big news, of course, is the Infinity Rulebook that if you order from them, you get the authorized Bounty Hunter miniature if you pre-order it, which
Right.
of course is a super special deal. And they do these super special deals all the time because everybody knows how cool they are.
Yep, they got all the these guys are the masters of miniatures, if I may be so bold. They carry all the stuff from the favorite name brands that everybody knows to the lesser known, smaller startup companies that are just getting out there. And so if you are into miniatures and you've heard a game and you've heard us talk about it on the show, or you've heard a friend of yours mentions you got to try this really weird game, the War Store carries it. And you check out their stuff. What I love about their site, Craig, is just how easy it is to navigate on the left-hand side there. They've got it broken down by genre, so you want to check out some fantasy models.
And for those games that overlap, don't worry, they're in more than one place.
Right. You won't be, if you can't remember if War Machine is sci-fi, fantasy, or steampunk, don't worry, it appears in all three. So, you'll find the games you want to check out there.
Excellent example.
They're all there. Check out thewarstore.com. Fantastic prices, but here's what will startle you. The prices will not be the most impressive part. The most impressive part is going to be the service. Things do not go wrong very often at the War Store. Every company makes mistakes. Things happen. And when they do, the War Store makes it right the best way possible. You will not be disappointed.
Fast and furiously.
Exactly right. So check them out. Head over to thewarstore.com.
I'm Raef, Hollywood Granger, and this is the Hollywood Minute.
Welcome to another edition and rendition of the Hollywood Minute. I'm your host, Raef Hollywood Granger. If you want to follow me, you can follow me on the D6G Hollywood on Twitter. That's where I spend most of my time microblogging, as they say. If you want to see my video uploads, you can follow those on YouTube at Raef Hollywood Granger. In about once a month upload time, you'll also find me writing some articles on jimmydjango.com. So, I want to start off first by talking about fraps and my recordings for League of Legends. So I've been having a lot of troubles here self-teaching myself how to use fraps to record League of Legends. I've recorded 3 different games, and it'll record the intro, so me choosing a character, the game launching, and then it'll switch over to a black screen. I have no idea why that was the case. Spent about 6 hours Googling it. There were different solutions. None of those solutions worked. I finally unloaded fraps and then reloaded it again, and it seemed to work. So by the time you're listening to this podcast, hopefully you'll be able to see the uploaded video I'm talking about. Now, I didn't record sound because I was sick of recording. I did 3 of them, and then they would record black. You heard my sound, but you didn't see anything. So this time I'm like, screw it. I'm just going to get the video part down, and then I'll worry about narrating it. Now the problem I'm having is you've got to take the program from Fraps and then put it into an editing program, which I'm using a freeware version until I'm convinced it can do the 2 things I need it to do. One is take video from the HD Sony camera so I can start editing Gen Con footage, and number 2, handle the Fraps footage. So right now, I've learned how to do the editing, and then the third piece of the puzzle is actually getting the video uploaded to YouTube. I have tried that under 3 different separate occasions for this newest video, and all 3 times it's been rejected. Hopefully the 4th time is a charm. It's probably rejected because the file's too big, I'm choosing the wrong file format, blabbity blah. Anything I try that's simple doesn't seem to work. What I mean by that is right in my editing program there's a button that says upload this to YouTube. So I click it, and of course it fails. So I've got to learn how to do the manual workaround. But, probably about 5, 6, 8 hours in to upload this one video. So I just wanted to give you an update to that. It's not that I've forgotten my YouTube channel, it's that I can't get the stuff out there. Okay, next thing I want to talk about is my friend Maddie Alex from the Nerd Herders podcast. So I was lamenting to him one day on a car ride somewhere that I kind of want to get better at gaming. And, what I do now is I sort of use gaming as an excuse to wind down and unravel my brain, which is a great excuse to do that. But in doing so, I'll just pick one strategy in a game. I won't think ahead whether that strategy is good or not. I won't look at what other players are doing. I'll just sort of lockstepian in my brain pick some moves and I have a fun time doing it, but I almost never win. So I was commenting to him like, I need like a mentor. I need like a Mr. Miyagi of gaming. And so without even saying anything, we were playing Chaos in the Old World with Matt Alex in it, as well as I'm drawing a blank. I think it was Brian Ahern and old Andy. No, wait, it wasn't Brian Ahern. Sorry, I confused that with the game I'm going to talk about next. It was Steno. So it was Matt and I, Steno, and old Andy. And I was about to make a move. I was playing Korn, by the way, in Chaos in the Old World. And Matt's like, why are you doing that? Not accusingly, not in a mean way. He was just querying my brain. I didn't even catch what he was doing until the end of the game. And he's like, okay, well, did you notice this? And did you notice that this card's up, so you're not going to be able to play that card? And I was like, oh, no, I'm not paying attention to any of those things. And so he just kind of asked me about 4 or 5 questions about my moves. Again, in a very non-judgmental way. He wasn't laughing at me. He was trying to teach me. And I really appreciated it, even though I didn't understand it until like that night, what he was trying to do. And so what it did do for me, though, is it engaged my brain to go, okay, man, so you know how Korn plays. You know that Korn wins and gets extra dial movements on by conquering different territories. So just pick that strategy and see how you do. And pay just 25% attention to what your opponents are doing. So I did that, and lo and behold, I won. And I feel like I won fair and square, too. Now, as luck would have it, Andy did a move that stopped Matt Alex from doing a move that would have caused Matt to win. But nevertheless, it was a fair move. It wasn't like he was trying to get me to win. So, and then I won by moving the dial. So I thought that was really cool. And I tried to do that in the later game I want to talk to you about that I played, which is called Founding Fathers. And if you haven't played that game, guys, that game is the bomb bullet. I love Founding Fathers. First of all, the historical component to it is very cool. If you see this on the shelf, you might be like, meh. The artwork may be like, meh. You read the box, blurbs, and you're like, meh. But for some reason, this is one of the best Euro placement games ever created. And for whatever other reason, the fluff on the historical part is really fun too. Huge fan favorite among our game group. What's also super cool is I finally broke down and bought the game. I've been wanting to own this game for 2 years, but I haven't purchased it because our game group has a huge tendency to everybody owns the same popular games, and I seem to never get my game to the table. Usually because it's not blinged out as far as somebody else. Like they've got the campaign coins or the upgrade cards or, the silk mat or whatever it is. But this game, there's only one other person that owns it, and that's Brian Ahern. And he, a lot of times we say to play it, but Brian ends up not bringing it. So I finally said, screw it, I'm bringing my own copy. And we had a blast. That was me, Joel, and Brian Ahern and Dave Farr. And I did not win these games, and Matt was off to the side, and I was trying to get Matt to coach me. And Matt was playing in that game too. And it supports 5 players. And Dave was like, no. He didn't want Matt coaching me because he didn't want me getting any extra advice or screwing up his own moves, which I totally appreciate, but I wanted my game mentor. Let's see. The last thing I want to talk to you about is the Lord of the Rings collectible card game. For whatever reason, I am just having so much fun playing this game on solo mode. So when you play it, guys, I can't explain it, but for me, it doesn't feel like a game. It does not feel like a game that while I'm playing it, I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm going through the movements and going through the motions, and I'm kind of playing some unique cards, and, okay, yeah, really it'd be more fun with more players, but it's passable in solitaire mode. Nope. The game is a game all in of itself. I don't need to have other players to have fun. I can't explain it. Maybe I'm simple-minded. I don't know. But you build your deck, and then you throw your deck against the game itself, and for whatever reason, it's just been really fun. Right now, what I've been doing is I played one of the Hunt for Golems missions, not all 3, just one of them, and I just wanted to get the rules down pat, whet my appetite. I've been watching a lot of screen videos. I've been watching Steve McLaughlin's games where he plays over there. On the WWPD podcast. They've got their own blog and podcast now. Is it a podcast? I think it's just blogs and videos on Lord of the Rings collectible card games where they're playing online and with multiple players to just get the rules down pat. I've been Googling the rules, and And so it's been a lot of fun. So what I'm ready to do now, thanks to Doc, he sent me the Hobbit on the Road expansion, which is the second half of the expansion. I didn't realize that, to the Overhill and Underhill. So now I've got expansion 1 of just the Hobbit and expansion 2 of just the Hobbit, and I'm ready to go through all 6 missions with that, and I need to tweak some of my deck. You get to play with Bilbo Baggins as a character, and just kudos to Fantasy Flight Games for getting this, getting Lord of the Rings collectible card game. It is just fantastic. If any of you guys are like, I like stuff that Hollywood likes, I'm telling you, get whatever expansion you want. Get the core rules and then get one expansion and just play through the missions by yourself and you'll have a flipping blast. The tutorial for this is also good from Fantasy Flight Games. And then I watched another guy play a solo game to just get some of the nuances down that I wasn't sure about with the rules. So coming up on my time here. Hopefully I didn't wax too long. Excited to be back in the third chair. And that's all for now. Chowie for now. Until next time, again, you can follow me on the most popular place is the D6G Hollywood on Twitter. That's right. I speak the most. Second most popular is Raef Hollywood Granger on YouTube, where I can get my videos going and start working on Gen Con clips. And the third place is JimmyDjango.com. Happy gaming.
Hey guys, you know what we're long overdue on, Greg?
Long overdue. Long
way overdue.
You know how long? Like a long canyon overdue.
Like August overdue. So we did get a handful, a smattering, if you will.
In fact, I would yes, a smattering, more than a handful. I mean less than a handful. I would say a smattering.
4 is the number. So
we're not going to hide it.
This was our contest we were doing for Dead Zone. For Deadzone Terrain, and guys, you're going to be sorry you didn't enter this contest because this is a box chock full of fantastic, amazing cool ruined terrain from Dead Zone that you could use in pretty much any sci-fi game. It is fantastic.
They asked me to do a blog entry. They haven't posted it yet, but I wrote it, and I'm just going to put it on my blog probably soon. Just so you can see this terrain is insane. It is insane. Awesome. It paints up fast. It's fun to put together. So
thanks so much to Patrick and the folks at Dead Zone. Yep.
Yeah. So we're talking about it. We're extolling its virtues, and it's too late.
So Patrick and Mantic, thank you so much for this awesome prize. Absolutely. And so one of these 4 people, or 2, I think it was Patrick offered 2 prizes, right?
I think he did.
Two of these people are going to win. So if you enter this contest, you basically have 50-50 chance of winning right now. So what we're going to play all 4 of these short entries. It was a battle cry, right? It was a battle cry.
Yes, we were looking for a battle cry from the Dead Zone universe.
Really quick, really easy. Up first, Craig, are you ready for this?
I am ready. I'm ready for. I'm assuming that this is the creme de la creme, Russ. Assuming that we only have 4. I'm assuming these are like the princes of the universe.
So here's Greg Barlow's entry. Yes, Greg Barlow's entry. I like Greg Barlow's entry because his icon in his email is a mind flare, which I do think is fantastic. So here we go.
Oh, cool.
All right, Greg. Here we go. Here's Greg's entry.
Yes.
Spread, infect, or kill.
Oh, nice. That would be a plague entry, I think.
That was creepy.
That was creepy, but awesome. I loved it. Greg, very good theme there. I love the sound effects, love the voice. That was awesome.
Very nice.
Awesome. Clearly plague from Dead Zone infecting. In fact, as everyone knows, the reason there are dead zones is because of the plague. Or at least that's what they tell us.
Yes.
That's what they tell us.
We talked in depth about the fluff.
Yes.
And that's the whole deal about Dead Zone is that you've got this plague suddenly erupting and it's an intelligent virus.
But is that the real reason, Craig? Is that the real reason they put the dead zones up?
Well, sometimes.
Yeah, okay. So here we go. Next entry is from our friend David Blood.
David Blood. All right.
His avatar also a nice, cool-looking miniature, so I love that. Here we go. David Blood's entry. Here it is.
Hi, my name is Dave Blood, and I have the war cry from the Jude Wan Medic.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
That is pretty awesome. That. I think Craig blew a gasket on that one. Dave, that was fantastic. Anything that gets Craig to not be able to speak is always a good entry.
I think I broke something in my neck.
I think you did.
Oh, well, first of all, it's a reb.
Yep.
So it's a species that is genetically pacifist.
Right.
That's why it's so they're not allowed. They don't pick up weapons. In fact, the only one of the entire race that picks up a weapon has been sort of riverized, if I can borrow a term or make up a term from Firefly.
Right.
They like grabbed one of these Judwan guys and sort of bent him and broke him and created him into an assassin, and then he escaped and now he kills everybody. But this is exactly what a Judwan medic would say if he accidentally killed someone.
My bad. That's awesome.
Sorry.
That's awesome. Great. Someone clearly knows the fluff.
Okay,
Dave, that was
David.
a
Good
very
one.
creative,
Good call.
fantastic entry. Okay. Next up, so this is great. So we had Greg's early entry there with some nice, really serious material, and then you have Dave just
With
going
some music,
over the top.
yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Now comes Joel Morgan. Here comes Joel's. Ready? Here we go.
Sergeant, the plague are coming, and we're heading into battle. Let me hear your battle cry. Sergeant, that's the worst battle cry I've ever heard. You're not going to be motivated to kill anything. Try again. Sergeant, you need help. Well, actually, I'm a sniper. The term "well, actually" is used in this contest entry without the express written permission of Craig Gallant. Copyright 2014, episode 151.
What did I do to deserve?
Joel,
I feel like I'm being targeted.
Anything that pokes fun at Craig is a win, Joel. All right.
Oh.
And last but certainly not least, in our epic handful of entries here,
Mm-hmm.
Adam,
was done with love because he signs his email off. Thanks for listening and good night. So
yeah.
I'm getting it, Joe. I'm getting in the spirit in which it was intended.
No,
that's
fair.
what I think.
It's great. So Adam Pitzer, here is his entry. Thank you, Adam, for this lovely entry. Here we go. Ready? Here it is. Adam's entry.
I would have won if this game used D6s like a normal game.
Nice, Adam. So that wasn't so much a battle cry as an excuse for losing.
Well, we did a death cry. We said battle cry.
Oh, death cry. Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay,
and
fair.
I believe if you read his email, that was a character falling off of the innovative vertical terrain.
Oh, nice. Failing a dex check. Very good. So those are some fantastic entries. So, Craig, why don't you pick a favorite? And I pick a favorite. And then each of those people will get an awesome prize. Lots of terrain, damaged terrain. Intentionally damaged terrain.
Ruins. We'll call them ruins.
Okay, ruins is fine.
Oh, God, Russ.
What do you think?
Can I get some Jeopardy music or something?
I have two favorites, so whichever you pick, I will pick the other, assuming you pick
How do you
one
know?
of
Yeah,
my
what if
two
I
favorites. If you don't, then I will have to toss a coin. Because they're all actually very good in their own way.
Any of these could win on
all
any
of
given
very
day.
creative,
Greg's had great production value.
Yeah, right.
David's was very linked into the world and in a humorous way.
Yeah.
Joel and Adam had the innovative.
All good.
I don't know, man. Gotta go with David. I almost died.
David.
And Joel, I almost died with yours too. But yeah, I'm gonna. I guess I have to stand by and just take a stand. So David,
I'm gonna
David
pick
Blood,
and I'm gonna pick Greg because I thought Greg's just had that feeling and that emotion and that great acting in it. So,
but
they're all good. But we can only be two winners. And there you have it. So
we wish we had enough to give all four of you.
We do.
That would teach everybody else.
But guys, thank you so much for taking the time to enter.
Yeah,
very creative.
thanks, guys.
So
That
Greg
was
Barlow
awesome.
and David, please email us, respond with your mailing addresses using the same emails you submitted your entries to, and we will forward those on to our friends at Mantic, and they will send out the awesome terrain packs for you.
Thanks, guys, for the best laugh I've had in about 3 weeks.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
So here's the final score. Ripley has 147 victory points. Hicks has 132. I have 117. And Hudson has 87.
That's it, man. Game over, man. Game over. What the frick are we gonna do now?
Put the game away?
Hey, welcome back, everybody. And now we would like to talk about our friends over at GameSalute.
Yeah, GameSalute.com. Craig, the games over at GameSalute are insane.
They're never ending.
They are, GameSalute, the folks that work with small independent developers like you or someone you know to bring
like
those
me?
games to the market. Or sorry, you got a great game idea, you want to bring it out there, you're not really sure what to do, Kickstarter makes you nervous, you don't know how to deal with all that, you're worried someone's going to take your house because you're not going to be able to afford everything you say you're going to be able to do. No problem. GameSalute can help you with all that stuff. But let's say you're not a game designer. Let's say you just want to buy some games. Well, that's okay too, because GameSalute has all these great games they're helping these little indie developers publish. Mm-hmm. One of them, for example, getting rave reviewed by everybody who's tried it, is Dwarf's King's Forge, just King's Forge for short. King's Forge.
I saw that at Gen Con.
Great little card game, fantastic game. One of the great ones. I just got Tiny Epic Kingdoms.
That looked very cool.
Now, get this. It's got all kinds. I backed the Kickstarter, just got it in the mail, paid for it with my own monies. This isn't even, GameStop didn't even send this to me. I bought it myself. It's chock full of all kinds of cool meatballs and everything. But here's the thing. It's a 4X, expand, exterminate, exploit, all that stuff. Explore, but you can play it in like 30 minutes. It's like one of those fantasy explore games, but you just play it all in 30 minutes. Great models, love the art. There's all kinds of different factions you can play. Just tons and tons of games like that over at GameSalute.com. So here's what you want to do. You want to go over to GameSalute.com and you want to go ahead and navigate their games and check out all their cool stuff. And then let's say you decide to shop on GameSalute.com and buy one of these awesome games like, Walkstar or Alien Frontiers or one of the many expansions, any of those things. What you want to do is make sure you put in the D6G code, D6G 155, right? Our episode number. And that is how you make sure you get the best deals on GameSalute.
Very good.
That's it. So check it all out at GameSalute.com.
Hooah!
This is the Dice Tower Network at DicetowerNetwork.com.
Hey, welcome back. And now it's time to talk about one of the
Brains.
Yeah, more zombies.
Now it's time to talk about brains.
Brains, right, Rafe? So
yeah, I was wondering if your voice could go any higher there, Ross. That was awesome.
that was I think that may have reached new peaks.
New peaks.
I think it was like he was like in a cafeteria and he saw zombies.
Zombies. Right. So this, of course, is student bodies from our friends at Smirk and Dagger and their cohorts in crime, Angry Duck Games. Right, Craig? Ooh, that was pretty good. Wow, that was really good. So that was surprisingly
that is one angry duck.
That is the Donald of Angry Ducks there.
That's
so
right.
Non-IP infringing Donald.
No, exactly.
Right.
Nice.
That's last one of those. I don't want to send anybody off the bike path.
You are disturbingly good at that. Off the bike path. Oh, that's a callback.
That is a callback.
So
right there.
Yes, and if you're confused or concerned or just have questions about what this whole Angry Duck Smirk and Dagger partnership is, rewind and go back to episode 145 when Kurt was a guest on the show, and he sort of teased out this whole student bodies game and explained how Angry Duck Games and Smirk and Dagger partnered. Yep. Angry Duck's basically the designer, and Smirk and Dagger, of course, is the publisher of this game. Did just come out at Gen Con. I believe that was the first release, so they might have had it at one of the other cons slightly before that, but Gen Con was the first big release of the game. Yep. It is a 2 to 5 player game. Supposed to get done in about 90 minutes. Does that sound right? The time?
That sounds right to me from my experiences.
What I like about this is, it is yet another zombie game, but I love how Smirk and Dagger and Kurt, right on the front of the box is a big sticker saying, here's why you should buy another zombie game. Right? It's right on the cover. And what I like about it is it's not a co-op game.
Not in any way, shape, or form.
And it seems like, I know there are a few not co-op zombie games, but the vast majority of them lately all seem to be co-ops. Right? And here we got one.
Or teams.
Yeah, and the thing here is, it's not about being, it's not about you're fighting who can kill the most zombies. It's, I don't need to be faster than the zombies. I just got to be faster than you. That's pretty much the skill.
Right. This is real life zombies.
Right. This is like, would you really care about your friend if it's you or him being eaten by zombies? Yeah. We think not.
We think you would really, really care until you saw the first person dragged down by zombies.
And then
it would be every high school student for himself.
And then we would just shove Rafe right towards the zombies and run.
That's right. And run.
Right. I'm I like co-op games, and this one not being a co-op game scared me away, thinking it was going to be brutal or not fun because everybody would be stabbing me in the back. Mm-hmm. But in my head, I played it co-op-y, even though I know it's not, and it was fun, and it didn't matter that I was on my own. It didn't feel backstabby, I guess.
Didn't? Well, that's interesting. Wow. I thought it was, but let's keep going. So,
even though I died, I didn't win.
You did die. So the premise here is that you are all high school kids. You're actually playing the game in a high school. Mm-hmm. Sadly, you've all...
Not the entire high school, just one hallway.
Just a hallway. You've all been bitten by zombies already. So you all know you're about to change into zombies. So your only hope... Fortunately, you all also happen to know that, of course, in the chem lab, somebody has mixed up an antidote for the zombie bite. So you know you got to get to the lab, get the antidote, drink the antidote, and then get back out of the high school. And the very first person to do this is going to be the winner.
Right, because they chain the doors closed behind them.
Right. So, but here's the thing. If you die before you drink the antidote, you become a zombie and can continue playing as a zombie. And now your objective changes to you win if no one gets out alive.
That's
right? So that's pretty neat. And that's the whole premise. The price for the game is $55. And
that's amazing to me.
Let's talk about what's in the box, and we can decide, as Raef says, is this really an amazing deal?
Yeah. Yes.
So in the box, you're going to get 130 cards used in a variety of decks. I think the artwork on these cards is fantastic.
And the card stock's amazing, too.
Yeah, the card stock's great. The artwork's fantastic. Quality's right there. If you've played with any cards from any of the prior Smirk and Dagger games, you know what we're talking about. Really nice, glossy cards, really high, going to last forever. No feeling of needing to sleeve them. They're really, really good cards. You're also going to get 5 character mats, each representing one hero you can play in the game, and they are reversible. So there's the normal, healthy, just slightly bitten hero version on the front, and you flip them over, and they are the zombie form on the back. And each hero has his own little mini, very, very short backstory. Very short.
Very
one
nice.
sentence. But cool. Artwork on these is great, too.
And I love that everybody's bio ends the same way.
Yes.
Until now.
Until now.
You were like just a punk who didn't care about anybody and nothing mattered and you didn't want to live or die until now.
Right. You were a goth chick, didn't care about anything until now. You know, so, and they're all the classic high school tropes, right? They're all in there. The jock, the goth chick, the cheerleader, all of them.
The geek. And isn't he actually the president of the math club? Or
he is. He's the chess club and math club president.
Yeah, there you go.
So there's also...
and he was just super proud of having the biggest brains in school.
Until now. Right. There are 18 zombie standees. So what's interesting about this game is there's no plastic in it. When I say that, I mean like plastic zombies or plastic heroes. They're all standees. They're this really high gloss, high quality thing. They all come with they do have a little bit of plastic for the plastic bases.
And normally that would bug the heck out of me.
Me
but
too.
For some reason in this game, no problem.
It looks great.
And the art is awesome, too.
The art is awesome. And what's cool is because they did them in standees, you get the 18 zombie standees, but you actually get 10 student standees. There are 2 versions of your play of each hero. One is the normal version, and then one's the zombified version, which is really cool. And again, the artwork looks great. Also, it's very easy to tell because I think the base colors are different. I can't remember, but it's very easy to tell who the students are and who the zombies are.
The background.
That's what it is. The backgrounds are different colors, right? It's a blue background with green back, right?
Yeah.
So it's really easy to tell in place of the artwork who's who. You also get some door standees. So basically, they're going to be this game board is 3 feet long. It's really long and narrow. It's an unusual board. It does feel like a hallway in a school. And it's divided into 3 broad sections. There's the entrance. There's this long middle, which is the majority of the board, the hallway, with lockers flanking each side of it. And then at the very end, there's another room area, and that is the lab. And there are these 2 door standees that also go into plastic bases. And you stand those up at the entrance and the exit. So basically, the hallway is blocked up by closed fire doors, the lab and the exit. Mm-hmm. You also get tons of high gloss tokens for a variety of things, even some nice little details that are very Smirk and Dagger. Like if you ever played Cutthroat Caverns, you know that there's like tokens for everything, even like one use items that only one character has. So the same in this game. There are cards you can get that are like items like you can get bocce balls, and the bocce ball card gives you 3 bocce balls that you can use 3 times in the game that are kind of like a weapon. The thing about this
because there are no weapons in this high. It's a high school. There's no weapons unless you pick up something that you can use, like a pencil or a bocce ball.
Right. But instead of having a generic token that says 1 bocce ball, you actually have bocce ball tokens for those 3 bocce balls. Just great stuff like that. You also get a custom D6 with different artwork on each side. So one of them's got the artworks of a mouth biting you. One's got the miss on it, and then one's got knocked down. So it's a custom die again, like you do nowadays. You don't have any tables. And this game is bucking the trend. There's no plastic in it. It's just got a lot of standees in it. How does it look on the table, guys? What do you think? Does it look good? And how is the value in there, considering it's a lot of cardboard?
Well, I would say that it looks awesome on the table, and that when you're looking at that $55 price point, imagine if there were 28 plastic models, because that's how many plastic models you would need to do this in plastic, and everything else would change also, because this is a much larger scale game than your average run-of-the-mill 28 millimeter plastic zombie game, any of those others. The hall, everything is bigger than it is on the, if you were playing like with 28 millimeter models, it would be like less than half the size of what you're looking at.
Yeah, so I didn't catch that.
Yeah, they're large. It's like 32 maybe, or 48.
Yeah. Oh no, they're more than 32 even.
Yeah.
They're big. And so, everything is this cool. It's big. It's all, sort of interlocked. So you can do different, like the lockers on the sides of the halls can change where the doors are. So the zombie entrance points are going to be different. And once you get a crap ton of zombies as long as they're oriented towards you, because when they're all oriented like at 90 degrees and you can't see them because they're just,
they're very thin
because they're standees, you're
brains
but
are tight.
then you fiddle with it for a minute and you turn everything your way and it's like, oh my God, that's awesome. Look at how many zombies there are. What they did was they decided they're going to go for a really reasonable price point. They're not going to add plastics. They're going to go with standees. Then they decided, you know what? If we're going to go with standees, we're going to take advantage of that, make it bigger than you would make it if it was going to be, standard board game size miniatures. Right. And you know what? If we're going to go with the standees, we're going to go all in and we're going to pay for some awesome artwork and we're going to carry this artistic theme through the entire game. And that's what they did. So I think it looks great on the table. And it gives you an awesome game for a ridiculous price, considering what other games are costing nowadays.
I agree. What do you think, Raef?
Yeah, I loved the presentation, the color. I didn't catch the slightly bigger size, but maybe that's what makes it just pop.
Yeah.
And again, I often will not play a game with standees. I don't know why. I just don't like the aesthetics, and I had no problem playing this game with standees, 0. And I didn't know the price of this game was that low, so that's amazing.
That's a great price. I agree, and especially when you consider there are card games only that are that price point,
yes.
right? Without the board and everything else. So that's a really solid deal. All right, so let's talk about. And I agree with you guys. It looks great when you're playing it. I didn't even You're right. When I'm analyzing it at the con, going, oh, it's all standees, but I'm actually playing it. That just goes out of you. You don't even notice it anymore.
Yeah, it does. It leaves your brain.
All right, so as I mentioned before, let's talk about setup a little bit, because Craig hinted at it, that there's a lot of variety here. So even though you're basically going to be in a hall between the exit, the fire doors to the exit, and the fire doors to the lab, there's still an awful lot of variety in this game, surprising amount for the situation. So how it works is there is these 3 sections we talked about, and also the board is covered in hexes. Everything's hex-based movement, right?
Yeah.
So it's all covered in hexes. First thing you're going to do is you're going to put your fire doors in the right spots. They always go in the same place. Now you're going to figure out the hallway starting situation. So you're going to draw 2 hallway cards. There's a hallway deck. You draw 2 of those at random, and there's a certain way it shows in the book you orient these cards. And these cards are covered with icons and show the hallway and tell you where to put starting stuff. So you're going to put a certain number of zombies in each place indicated on the hallway cards. You're going to put some debris piles on the hallway cards. And debris piles are the size of a hex on the table. And as Craig mentioned, the hexes are pretty big. So it's a big glossy debris pile. And this is basically like difficult terrain. It's going to slow you down when you try to move through it. You're also going to put there's body tokens. And what you're going to want to do is take all those body tokens out, shuffle them up so they're face down, because one side always has a body shape on it. The other sides have different things on them. And then you're going to randomly you're not going to know which body token's which. You're going to put them out wherever it indicates there should be body tokens in the hallway on those 2 cards. So you got your debris piles, you got your bodies, also spawn points. So there are some fixed spawn points on the sides of the hallway between the locker rooms, like coming out of classrooms. But there are also spawn points that can be in the middle of the hallway, representing zombies falling out of vents in the ceiling. Or also there are, as Craig mentioned, also there's actually spare locker covers that can go and move or cover up the hallway entrance from the side. So it's not always going to be the same spawn points every time you play.
Right.
So that sets that all up. So you're ready to go. And also the hallway has starting spots for all your players. So you know in the beginning that the heroes, you guys, are going to start in this hallway. Now, you also got to get the lab ready. So what you want to do here is there's a deck of lab cards. You're going to draw one of those but not look at it and put it face down in the lab. So you're not going to know what the layout of the lab is until you pop those lab doors open later. So you put that face down, but because there's this nice deck, it's not always the same every time. You're also going to get a number of beaker tokens that need to go in the lab, but it's not as easy as just grabbing a beaker token and knowing it's always the antidote, because you're not, all of you aren't rocket scientists here, right? So there's a bunch of beakers in the lab. Some of it might be the antidote. Some of it might be, hydrochloric acid. You just don't know.
Cleaning fluid.
Right.
So that to me, just getting to know Kurt over the years in his games, that to me was very Kurt-like.
Yes.
Like you don't just bust in, grab the vial. It's like, oh no, it might not be what you need at all.
So you're going to shuffle up. There's a bunch of antidote tokens. One side's got a beaker on. The other side tells you based on color, and there's icons on the side of the board that tell you what the colors do, what it's going to be. So what you want to do is you're going to take one token that actually has an antidote on it for each player. So if there's a 4-player game, you're going to have 4 antidote tokens, but then you're going to randomly draw 2 more tokens and get it up to 6. And if it's a 5-player game, you're going to get it to 7. So if there's 4 players, 4 of those are antidotes, but 2 of them are not. So you don't know what those could be. They could be bonuses. They could be good. They could be like speed you up, give you more energy, or they could actually injure you.
Mm-hmm. They could take your last wound and kill you and turn you into a zombie even.
And you put those inside the lab, but you put them face down so you don't know what they are, but you don't know where they are exactly yet because when you turn that lab card over, that's going to tell you exactly where to put them. And you're also going to take 4 zombie standees and put them aside inside the lab as well because those are reserved for when you flip the lab card over also. That's because there is a limit to the number of zombies can be on the board, and once all the zombies are on the board, you can't make any more. So you're putting some aside for the lab and also for the exit to make sure there's zombies there when you pop those doors open. So you put some aside for the lab. You're also going to prep the exit very similarly. You're going to draw an exit card from the exit deck, put it face down in the exit section. So again, the doors are closed. You don't know what the exit is going to look like in there. Going to put 4 zombies aside there as well, and you're ready to go. The exit's prepped. The last thing, the rest of the zombies are going to form the zombie pool. Just put them to the side of the board for coming in later. And each character's got to get set up now. So the board's all done. Time to set up characters. So you're going to grab your character match. You can do them random. You can have people pick their characters, whatever they're going to do. You're going to set them up in front of yourself, zombie, not zombie side up, so your healthy side up. Each player is going to get 3 stamina tokens. And these little tokens are going to tell you stamina is sort of like the currency of being able to do something in the game. And there's a couple ways you can do this. There's actually multiple tokens. You give players 3 each and discard them as they use them, or you can slide it up and down on a little stamina track. It's your choice. There are also, each player should have 5 health tokens on their board, showing that they've got 5 essentially hit points. When those are all down, you're dead. And everybody starts with a random item. So there's a giant item deck of cool stuff. Each player is dealt one of those at random and then put them face up under their character board. There's a section in your character board for general items, and there's 1 slot for a weapon. There aren't very many weapons in the game, so if you get one, that is awesome, and you must put it in the weapon slot. All right?
Mm-hmm.
The last couple things you're going to do, and this is really important. First, you're going to shuffle up the main deck, which is the giant deck, and give each player 5 of those cards for their hand size. Now, there's some things that'll change your hand size, but usually it's 5. And these are cards you're going to use as kind of like actions during the game. So that's a hand you kind of look at. So everybody gets those. Yeah. And then last but not least, and most importantly, you must build the zombie deck. Now, this is the classic deck of cards when you're dealing with zombie AI that are going to tell you what the zombies are going to do each turn. Now, here's the important thing, though. Don't just grab all the zombie cards, shuffle them up, and play with it as if that was your deck. Right, Phil? I'm looking at you, Phil. Yes. So, Raef, I don't know if you know this. When we played at Gen Con, our friend Phil, Viva la Pole Phil, played with us, and had played the demo, and he shuffled the cards up, but he didn't know you're supposed to build the deck specially, right?
Oh.
So we played basically on the hardest possible version of the game, which is nigh impossible. So don't do that.
It's called World War Z.
Yeah.
Level.
So what you want to do is you want to pick your difficulty level, and based on the difficulty level and number of players in the game, is also important, there is a little chart that's going to tell you each card is an icon in the corner that tells you the level of the card, 0, 1, 2, or 3. And you're supposed to have some number of level 0 cards or base cards, some level of number 1, 2, 3. So you look at this chart, figure that all out, build the deck, shuffle it up, now you're ready to go. Make sense?
Yeah, I'd like to say, not that Russ didn't do a good job of that, but it's basically board, fill up the middle, fill up the exit, fill up the lab, prep the deck with zombies. It's not quite as complicated as it says when you start to spell it out step by step by step. It's pretty simple.
It's not that complicated, but I wanted to highlight the lab and exit to let you know that it's got a lot of replayability.
Yeah, it's got fog of war. Until you open the doors, you don't know what's going on.
And the way the zombies start in the main hall is also random based on the deck as well. So it's a lot of variety there. How's it sound, Craig? Make sense?
Yeah, I love it.
All right. So how we're going to play. So the last thing you got to do is there's these start spots. There's 5 start spots in the hallway. And you and your other players, what you're going to do is you're going to, when it's your turn, pick where your guy's going to start. Okay? Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Before we start teaching everybody how to play, we should remember what are the goals of the game. Remember, the goal of the game is to get into the lab, get an antidote, and by the way, the only way to know if you've got the antidote is you drink it. So basically when you pick the antidote up, you're not carrying around, you drink it instantly. You drink it, you flip it over, find out if it's the antidote. If it is, you're good to go. You got to get out the front door, and whoever makes out the front door first is the winner. Okay?
Now, Russ, what happens if you do drink the antidote, it's correct, and then you die?
Well, see, that's a problem because if you have drunk the antidote and then you die, you cannot turn into a zombie because you are immune to the zombie plague, in which case you are out of the game and you lose.
That's
and
right.
cannot win.
Wow.
So that's bad. So once you drink the antidote, you're pretty much on a timer to get the heck out of the game.
All or nothing.
All right. So during your turn, it's going to be pretty simple. Okay, the first thing you're going to do is ready all your items. What does that mean? Well, it means you untap your cards. Okay, so here's an important thing to remember, and it's really easy to abuse this, so don't forget this. Every time you use any item, you must turn it sideways, tap it, okay, including weapons. So you can't, if you have a chain, for example, you can't use all your stamina to attack with the chain 4 times, because as soon as you attack with the chain once, you now turn your card sideways, and you can't attack with the chain anymore this turn until the start of your next turn, which untaps it. This is very, very important, because it's not an icon on the card for this, it's just a basic rule of the game, easy to miss. Okay, so beginning of your turn, you ready all your items so they can be used again. Next thing you're going to do is you must play a card from the zombie deck. Now, who plays the card from the zombie deck is very important because you, the guy controlling the zombie this turn, have a lot of choices. And this is one of those stab your friends in the back part of the game. So if it's Raef's turn, Raef will pull a zombie card from the deck. And it's going to tell him a couple of different icons on it that are going to have him do a couple different things. It's going to basically say all the zombies get an action, or spawn a zombie and give it 1 action. Or now, it's pretty simple. When the zombies get an action, they're either going to stand up if they're knocked down, they're going to attack if they're next to somebody, or they're going to move closer to the people they can. Zombies can only move 1 square, and they don't normally can't normally walk into a difficult terrain, so they have to stop and not go through it unless they get a special rule or something. All right? And when they attack, so if a zombie's about to attack someone next to them, they're going to roll that white D6. You're either going to get a miss, which means you're okay. You're going to get knocked down, which means you knock your standee down, or you're going to get bitten, which means you're going to take a wound. That's pretty much it. It's very, very simple. The way you counter that is some of the cards in your hand. More about that in a little bit. If you spawn a zombie, it's also very simple. But here's the thing. Where the zombie spawns, so it might say spawn 1 zombie, spawn 2 zombies. Where they spawn is the choice of the player with the card. So you can decide which spawn point they come near, so who they're going to be next to. And there's usually 4 or maybe even 5 or maybe sometimes more spawn points on the board at any one time. So being able to control where those zombies show up, huge. All right. That's the zombie card. Does that make sense so far?
Mm-hmm. It's very simple.
Yeah, I want to make any fluff for that? Are we good? There's a couple of little like cool fluffy words on the zombie cards too, like Ethna the Lunch Lady. You know,
I would say you flip the card, you get a mass of zombies. You're in. You look at the spawn points and you pop them out. And you try to jam them all up near your friends so that you can have the zombies bite them.
Right, exactly right.
Well, that's one cool thing, Russ, you were just hinting at about the different cards is that they each key to a different character that you find somewhere in the game, not in any important way, but as a theme. Right. Like the Agnes the Lunch Lady card is like everybody's going to kind of act sort of slow and ponderous, all the zombies that turn, but it's got a little picture of Agnes and it says, when she was alive, she used to feed you, green eggs, and now she's trying to eat your brain or something. Much
I didn't catch that.
Much wittier than that,
right?
Yeah,
but I don't. But yeah, no, I mean that the zombies acted like that card. Okay.
Well, those are the sequence of actions that Russ just talked about: standing up, attacking, and moving. But they're kind of thematically keyed to the character that card sort of goes by.
Like you might see, for example, the jock one, the zombies get 2 actions instead of 1 this turn, that kind of thing. Right. So a little faster. So things like that happen. Yeah.
It's not, like I said, it's working on a level that's just pure fun and has nothing to do with like, now the jocks move, but nobody else, the actual standees you're using don't matter.
Right.
But if you look carefully, there is an Agnes the Lunch Lady standee.
Right.
Which is cool.
She's in there.
She's in there somewhere.
Right. So that's the zombie phase. So and each player is going to do this. So basically when it's Craig's turn, he's going to unready his items. He's going to activate a zombie card. Then he's going to do some stuff. Then it's Rafe's turn. He's going to play one of his items. He's going to activate a zombie card. So the zombies are going all the time, each player's turn. Next up, it is now the player's action. So if it's Rafe's turn, he's going to get to do some actions. And basically, how many actions you can pull off is really going to be based on your fatigue and the cards in your hand. Because basically, when you want to do, most things cost you 1 fatigue. So if you want to move a space, it's 1 space per stamina. And if you want to move into difficult terrain like those rubble, you got to spend 2 stamina to get into 1 space. Okay, so it costs you more work to get in there.
What's the total stamina again?
3 by default. Okay. Now, what to remember is if you enter a space with a zombie that a zombie can swing at you in, he will attack you for free during your turn. So if you walk adjacent to a zombie, he's going to attack you for free. So watch out for that. You're going to provoke zombie attacks. one thing to remember, there was a keyword on some of your cards in your hand you can play called Rush. And if you see Rush, it means you can enter spaces without paying extra, and it means zombies will not attack you if you move past them. So Rush is a huge ability. So one of the actions you can do, of course, is to move. The other one you can do is search a corpse or a beaker. Now, if you're in the lab, you can search the beaker, but the corpses are key because the corpses are the only way to get more items. So other than that first item you get in the game, you're going to search a corpse. You're going to spend an action. You're going to turn over that corpse token and see what's on it. Many times it says item, and you get to draw a card from the item deck.
But sometimes it's a zombie game and they bite you.
That's right. So the corpse isn't really dead yet.
Not every corpse is dead. That's that's really the summary,
right,
if you will, of the zombie game genre.
Right. So it bites you and you get a bite. It could also be something. It could be nothing. It could be empty. So those are that's how that works. You can also play some of your student bodies cards from your hand. Craig, can you remember some of the example cards from your hand?
Or Raef? Well, there's attack, which is like you're jabbing a pencil into the, so that allows you to rush one space and attack a zombie, or what is it called when you kill the zombie outright? It's, I can't remember. There's a game term for just killing the zombie outright where you don't have to worry about combat at all. It's just,
I can't remember
that zombie's done and you get to move. Or one of my personal favorites is, I can't remember the name of it, but it was Fort Up, basically. Yeah. And you get into a rubble pile, you play this card, and nobody can touch you.
Right. There's actually a token for that, too, which is awesome.
Now, you can't move.
Right.
You can't attack anybody. You can't do anything, but you can slowly heal up if you've got the ability, and you're just basically forted up until whatever moves past you. It was really cool.
You basically surrounded yourself by desks, so you're not built this little wall of
exactly. And because you'll get to a point where you're gonna be attacked by if you're ahead, then every player ahead of you is going to be attacking you with zombies till it gets to your turn again. So,
and by the way,
it's a really good move is to run right up the hall and then fort up.
Craig's example, there's a card called Attack, which doesn't require a weapon. You can attack with a pencil in the eye. And the picture shows a pencil in the eye of a zombie. But remember that attack doesn't have to be against the zombie. I could just as easily stick Craig's character with a pencil in the eye as well.
That's right. And that's not pretty. I've seen it before.
No, it's not. So
occupational hazard.
These cards are all kinds of craziness. So the different cards you can have in your hand, and we'll get those in a second, are a wide variety, but many of them have a stamina cost in the corner. Some of them are free. Some of them let you move without paying a stamina, but many of them let you rush instead of moving, which means you ignore zombie attacks, things like that. The last action you can do is open the door. So when you're adjacent to either the door to the lab or the door to the exit, you can pop the door open. And basically what's going to happen there, if you do that, you're going to flip over the card in that room, and it's going to show you where to place all the things, and you're ready to rock in that room. So there's no fancy rules for you. Flip the card over, put the zombies and the antidote tokens or whatever in the areas that are shown, and then you keep playing. All right? So that is all the actions you can do. Really, what we haven't covered is some of the card examples and some other funky little effects. But as we mentioned before, combat's really simple. When you attack the zombies, it pretty much says you do a wound. And for most zombies, that will kill them. However, when they attack you, you almost always roll the dice. So the dice will be random. We talked about that already. Now,
what I remember when I'm thinking about it is, so the zombies are there, and I kind of had a really quick juke deck, I would call it. I can't remember the exact name of the cards, but I had lots of cards that, so when the NPC zombies are attacking me, we'll get into PC zombies later, Russ is controlling them and he's mobbing after me. I had cards that were like duck and sprint. I'm making that up. That's not really it. But I was able to push a zombie to the side, knock it into another zombie, and then move a hex or stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, there's all kinds of cards. You can push guys, knock them over. If you get knocked down, you got to spend an action to stand back up. So that sucks because you're spending an action. Let's talk about the cards a little bit more. So there's really a couple different kinds of cards. Most of them are action cards, which means that they cost you and there's a fatigue amount in the corner that costs you to activate them. Some of them do cost 2 fatigue, but let you go 4 squares and rush, which is huge. Like dash or something like that. One of them, though, another kind of card is a fast action card. These are awesome cards because they can be played at any time, and they don't require any stamina. So they're kind of like free actions in some games. So you can play them during your turn, so you can play them during your opponent's turn, whatever you want. So they're kind of really handy to use. There's also reaction cards. So the reaction card's really cool. So for example, I had a reaction card that's like dodge. So I can play it, and if it says the zombie says you bite you, and the zombie rolls and he hits you, I say, dodge, you missed me, zombie. Or there's another reaction card that when someone attacks you, it's called revenge, and you attack them back. So the zombie might bite you, but you kill the zombie back, or I can hit Raef back. So that's pretty much the deck of cards. A lot of variety. We were talking about many of the examples. The other thing is when you're in the back room and you start popping those antidotes, and we talked about them before. Some of them give you extra, like superpower you up and give you more stamina, and it's permanent. So you might go to 4 stamina and throw it instead of 3 for the rest of the game. There's just some really other examples I want to talk about. There's some really cool items in the game. Like, for example, there's a trash can lid you can carry around, like Captain America's shield, and you can use it. You can tap it once per turn to block a point of damage, or you can lose it, throw it away, and slide it down the floor and knock several zombies over. It's a really cool, neat options for it as well. So we really just neat stuff like that all through the game. Really good themed stuff for the items and everything too. So that's one other thing we should talk about a little bit, as Raef hinted at, is the what happens when you become a zombie. So if your health goes to 0 and you're basically down, the next turn you turn into the zombie and you flip your card over. Now, being a zombie is essentially the same as being a person. You have a few less wounds. You only come back to life with only 2 wounds, I think, or maybe it's 3. I can't remember. But you have less wounds to start, and you have basically the same actions, but a couple extra actions you can do. Like, for example, one of the actions you can do is you can swap places with another zombie that is adjacent to you. So here's a little rules thing we found in the book. Yeah. The way the book is written, it says you can swap places with a zombie. So when we were playing, I happened to be killed and turned into a zombie, and Raef said, look, Russ, it says in the book you can swap places with a zombie, so you can swap places with any zombie on the board and kind of like teleport around and switch places with the zombies for an action. So we started playing it that way, and it felt a little broken, and then Raef, of course, texted Kurt Covert, and it turned out you can't do that. It's only for adjacent zombies. So the idea is that you can't be blocked out by zombies since you're also a zombie. Kind of
because it seemed broken because like I had Craig at this particular game, I was like in the lab and I had those hop over terrain piece moves and juke moves, and like Russ went in brains. He was the PC zombie at this point in time.
Oh, yeah.
And then I like jumped over the desk, pushed 2 zombies into him, and was like through the door. Yep. And he was like, I'm never going to be able to catch you. And then we read the rule, and it didn't feel right thematically because we're like, well, it's not the Matrix, but it was basically like the Matrix when, what are those guys? They go and they appear in the other black suited dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that was wrong. We were doing it wrong.
Yep. So it's just adjacent zombies. Now, the other thing that's cool, though, is on the bottom of some of the cards in your hand, there is a little Z next to some little small text. And this is a special ability that if you're the player zombie, you can use instead of the other text on the card. So, for example, one of them is you can activate all a zombie instead of yourself. So it's a way you can kind of jump ahead and so instead of teleporting that guy, you can kind of shout to another zombie, get that guy, and he'll go attack them, that kind of thing. So it's really, really nice. I like being the undead player. It's a lot of fun. And you still feel like you have a lot of options and you're still very much in the game. So that's
absolutely, and it may be even more fun.
Yeah, it might be. I'm not sure, but I like it a lot. But it does feel really cool. It's so hard to get the potion and get out. And the thing to remember too is once you get the antidote, getting out's pretty much the same as getting into the lab. Eventually, you fight your way back through the main hallway, back out of the lab, and you get the other set of doors to the exit. You pop those babies open, and then you're going to reveal the card in the exit. It's going to show you an amount of stuff. Sometimes these cards have more spawn points on them too. So now zombies are spawning at the exit, and you get through the door and you're clear and you're out. So that's pretty much the whole game. Mm-hmm. Any of the comments about the basics before we get into our final thoughts? It's really a straightforward game.
Yep, I do.
Okay, go ahead, Raef.
One thing I liked, which is maybe why I didn't feel like it was as backstabbery, even though it's not a co-op game, is that when the zombies when it's your turn and you're spawning zombies, which are then, of course, activated by your friends who are trying to kill you, that part wasn't really brain burnery. The way they made the map, the way they made the spawn points, the way they did stuff, you didn't sit there and go, well, if I put this zombie here, I can get Craig in 2 moves. It's basically like, oh, well, all right, there's a spot here, I'll put him here, oh, that eats up that spot. Okay, boop, 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 and you put the zombies down.
Right.
It wasn't brain burner.
No, you're right. The zombies rules are pretty restrictive, so there's not a lot of point, except for spawning. There's not a lot of time in the game where you're really going to be able to move the zombie in a way that's going to really hurt your friend.
Exactly.
But the way you hurt your friend is Raef has made it has passed me. He's now in the lab. He's got the antidote, and he's running back by me to leave. This part of the game reminds me very much of Cutthroat Caverns. So it's like in Cutthroat Caverns, you're going along, everything's fine, about to kill the monster, and all of a sudden Craig plays, "Oh, not so fast," right? Which is literally the card name, and stops you. So Raef's running by me, and I play, "Oh, reaction clothesline. Oh, I'm sorry. You step. Oh, you're knocked down. Your turn immediately ends. Oh, was that next to a zombie? Oh, that's my bad." Right. The other thing too is if you're knocked down and attacked by a zombie, there's no dice rolling. You're automatically hit. So there's some nasty combos, but it really comes from like you play like Rafe's down to one wound, he's trying to get away. That's when I play the card, stick a pencil in his eye, that kind of stuff. So there's some definite. It feels like that hand of cards is really where you start messing with your friend. But you got to remember to get your mind out of because it's very simple to think about the fact that your hand of cards is only for targeting zombies, but it's not. It's really about winning the game. So, but it's a very really it's an easy to play game for zombie fighting game. It's not very complicated, which I really like a lot about it. All right, so before we get to final thoughts, we do need to describe the patent pending D6G rating system. So, Raef, are you ready?
Yes.
In the style of a high school student just freshly bitten by a zombie and paranoid about what this will do to his social life, please describe the patent pending D6G rating system.
Okay. Oh, God, like, gag me with a pitchfork. Oh, I can't believe
it's been a while since Rafe taught high school.
I'm doing girls.
1985.
I just can't believe that there's like all these hunky boys in the gym. What? Oh my God, they're not boys. They're zombies. Oh, well, if I like this zombie, then I would give it a rating of a 1+. And if I super liked it, I would give it a rating of a 1+ with a reroll. And don't ask me about the math about that. Jeez. And if I really hate the game, well, then I'd give it a 6.
All right, well, thank you, Rafe.
And that's it.
Any female high school students in our audience? That the email is Hollywood@the D6Generation.
From the 1980s from the Valley.
Right. So, hey, Rafe, you want to start? What were your thoughts?
Yes. Okay. So I'm out in Gen Con, as you know, and I swear to God, I never even told you guys this. I'm not making this up. I was in the mood for a zombie game. I'm like, I just want there to be a zombie game that I want to play, and it'll be awesome. So I'm standing around the yellow booth, which also had a zombie game, and I'm watching it, and they had the cool 3D board, and they're playing it, and I watched a demo, and I was like, I didn't play it, so I don't want to knock it, but I was like, I don't know, kind of looks like every other zombie game. And then, and I didn't play this game at Gen Con, but I walked by, said hello to Kurt, saw people playing it, and they were just loving it and laughing and having a blast, and Kurt was smiling from ear to ear, and I was like, oh man, this game must be pretty cool. So then Russ brought it out at a Myriad game night. I'm not sure where Craig was. I think he maybe was already doing the play. Or watching Guardians of the Galaxy for the 100th time. I'm not sure which.
Right. It was one of those two.
Mm-hmm. And, we played it and we set it up and it was beautiful and it totally scratched my zombie itch. Why? It was fast to play. It was fun. I made a decision that I was going to, here's what I mean about, I don't care that it wasn't co-op, but I didn't feel mean. I made a decision that I wasn't going to interfere with the other players. I made a decision that I was going to make a mad dash for the lab, bust open the doors, drink the thing, and then just try to make a mad dash out. And it totally worked. Now, I don't know if that's because I had a really cool hand of cards that just let me do that, but it seemed like anytime Russ or Jeremy, who was the other player, were trying to stop me, I was just able to ninja my way out of it, including Craig. One time I had a very choice time. I had that card you were talking about where you're fortified behind the desk.
Mm-hmm, yep.
So they just kept trying to get me and bring me down and get me. And I'm like, nope, dodge, nope, spin, nope. Right. Here's a chair you trip over. Right. Oh, I'm fortified. And again, I didn't make it through, but Russ, you agree I probably would have. I didn't because we were playing the zombie.
Right, I played the zombie rule wrong.
Which
ironically,
wrong,
I was playing it. We started playing it. I thought you could only do adjacent, and you're like, no, try it. And it totally broke it. I mean, it totally got me to you.
It totally did, yeah.
So that definitely, I think you would have made it out, or you at least would have gotten a lot closer because you got all the way to the door exit, and I
got all the way to the gym door exit.
Yeah, and then I did the teleport thing and started beating you up. So because I was dead.
So what did you do wrong?
So the rule says that once you're so I was killed, so I became a zombie. Right, I died pretty early, so I became a zombie.
Yeah.
So the rule set it lists all the action you can do when you're a zombie, and one of the actions you can do is you can switch places with another zombie. It says
it just says zombie. Another zombie. You can switch places with any other NPC zombie.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we took that to mean that anywhere on the board. So if
anywhere on the board.
If Rafe was 20 squares away from me, but next to another zombie, for one stamina, I could switch places with that zombie. And now, as an undead zombie, I'm next to Rafe.
But wait, my memory stirs, and I believe it's just somebody who's adjacent to you?
That's right.
The rule doesn't say it, though.
So you can't teleport out 20 spaces.
No,
but the rule didn't say
the rule
adjacent.
doesn't say that. We didn't know until we asked Kurt. So it's a little fuzzy in the book. But so that's what. So
but we knew. But Somehow we knew when we played at Gen Con.
Because you were probably playing it intrinsically.
Oh, no. Phil. Oh, no. Yeah, because Phil did the full demo.
Yes.
And he played the full demo.
And that's why when I played with Raef, when I was playing Raef, I was only doing adjacent. Rafe's like, no, you can go anywhere because I'm reading the book. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess the book says that. So, but that's the wrong way to do it, right? So, so that makes it much more interesting. Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah.
So it's great though. That was a lot of fun. So
I got a few more to say before Craig and Russ go. So what I felt was really cool about it again was like the item choices and the way they worked was cinematic and worked. This game works the way you want it to work. Like when you're playing it, you're like, oh, I wish I could. Oh, and guess what? I can. And I don't like games because I'm so happy and I don't want to get all mean with people.
The real question though, when you're playing games and you don't want to be mean, are you happy like a room without a roof?
Yes.
Okay. Just
I
checking.
am. Exactly. Yep. And very well done, Craig.
Thank you. Still don't understand why that makes you happy. But anyway, go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. It just does. Like, I'm going to build farms, and I don't want anybody to mess with my farm.
No. Not you. I don't. That was a question for Pharrell, not for you.
Oh, okay. And so even though Jeremy and Russ is trying to get me in as a zombie, it didn't seem mean-spirited, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I can't understand it. I'm like, of course he's trying to get me. He's a zombie. And I think also because the board mechanics weren't such that Russ really had to brain burner it. He's like, oh, Rafe's over there. Okay, 2 hexes. It wasn't like, oh, well, 2 hexes, and then I pop through a grate and I kill you instantly. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. It just, the game balance was good. The mechanics were good. It played fast. It was fun. They have fun nods like the bag of dice weapon or item. Tell them about that.
Yes. Yeah, there's a bag of dice. I actually had the bag of dice, and it's a picture. It's artwork of a D&D bag with all the different polyhedral dice in it. And I was able to throw it at one point, and it like knocks down X number of zombies near me or whatever. So that was handy, or opponents, which is cool too. But the variety in the items deck is awesome. The replayability is great. So Rafe, what do you think? What are you going to rate it?
I'm going to rate this 1+ with a reroll.
1+ with a reroll. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that is the maximum rating
I love
ever.
it that much. I think Kurt is brilliant in this, and the guys over there and gals over there at Angry Duck Games.
Wow.
Oh, I said I wasn't going to do that again.
So, Craig, what are your thoughts?
I had a blast. I did feel at one point that I got a little hand-locked, and I didn't have any cards I needed, but I broke out of that. So that was more of something that happened in my head rather than the game. And I thought I was doing great, and it was all pure luck. It was so cinematic because I had 1 wound left. It was great. I drank the thing, and there's no drink that will automatically kill you. There's a drink that does 1 wound. Sadly, when you only have 1 left, that's more than enough. And so I drank it and I turned into a zombie, and then the whole game changes, but it's still just as much fun. And you can almost see like everything shift on the board, and all of a sudden all the bad guys are good guys and all the good guys are targets. And it was just a blast. I love that you don't know what I love the way the hall sets up with 2 cards, so it's always going to be different, all kinds of different variety. I love the way that you don't know what the lab looks like till you get in there.
Right.
It really, they set out to make a game that was, as Kurt said, like the last 5 minutes of the horror movie. And I don't know how you could have done it better. I mean, seriously, I'm the big plastic junkie, and I wouldn't want, you'd have to pay like $150 if they did this in plastic, the size that it is. I mean, it's insane.
You know what I want, don't you, Craig?
What's that?
The plastic zombie expansion kit.
Well, you just get the zombie side guys and put them in there.
Yeah, but then they'd be tiny. They'd be the wrong size.
Yeah, they'd be too small.
No,
like
the right size.
Oh, well, they'd be huge.
Yeah, see, but then I don't like.
I like what it is, though. It's good what it is.
Yeah, no, I like. That's what I'm saying. I like it the way it is.
But you know what, too? It's, and not to jump into your thing, Craig, but those games are all hard to transport. This game is a small box.
I know.
You can carry it with you. It's cheap. It's
There's
fast.
so
it's
many
fun.
reasons that it would.
Yeah.
I would equate. This is how I would equate this game having standees instead of plastic to Dead Zone using hexes or using cubes and Disc Wars using discs.
Right.
2 things that I thought, oh, that's going to be a shame, and instead they become these big benefits, and they it goes from a negative to a plus, and I just really enjoyed this game. I had a blast. Just because of my attention span now in my old age, it went to the perfect speed. I didn't feel like it overstayed its welcome. Because of the way the game plays, you're engaged the whole time. You're not like, okay, now I'm going to wait for my turn. Instead, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to get pummeled until it's my next turn. It's got so many cool little zombie movie tropes going, little high school tropes going. And, you know, I mean, not for nothing, but I always enjoy a good anything that, you know, where high school students are being victimized. I'm kidding.
Wow.
I'm kidding. Oh, don't forget to tip your waitress. Anyway, yeah, so I really, really enjoy it. I think it hits the ball out of the park. I think that the Angry Duck guys and Kurt, you can tell Kurt's influence here on a lot of the little bits and pieces. And I think that is a match made in heaven. I hope it does everything that the Angry Duck guys want to have happen and more, because they deserve a lot of kudos for this and a lot of success. And I'm just super excited that Kurt came along and put his stamp on it and brought it to the masses in this way with this artwork and everything. So I'm going to give it a 3+.
Ooh, nice.
And I am going to say that if you like zombie games, but you're looking for a new one that's unlike any other zombie game out there, and you don't like the heavy nihilistic, oh, we're just fighting till we die. I mean, this is an awesome, fun take on zombies. So if that connects at all with you, then I'm going to put a +1 on that.
Yeah, it's basically the Buffy the Vampire Slayer of zombie games.
It totally is. It totally is.
I agree with both you guys. I think it's just fantastic. I love the replayability with all the ways you can set up. Love the characters. Love the item cards. I mean, you get so few item cards in the game because you have to get them off corpses, and the item deck is so massive that you could play the game several times and never see the same item twice. Really, really great fun. The only thing about it that's negative I can see, this happened in our game, was that so Raef.
Oh, I wanted to talk about this.
Raef was way in the lead, heading for the exit, had the item. Jeremy, our other player, was still human, but hadn't even made it across the halfway line to the lab. So he's like got a long walk ahead of him. I've already been all the way in the lab chasing Raef. I got turned into a zombie. I'm coming all the way back trying to get Raef. Using the little misplayed zombie teleport rule, I do in fact kill Raef. However, as I try to come back, Jeremy takes me out. So now there's only one player left. Jeremy. But he doesn't automatically win. He's still got to go all the way to the lab, get the lone item, and get all the way out. So now it's a solo game. So at this point, Jeremy's kind of like, I don't know how to play. We'll just have you guys watch. But Raef and I are both like, no, see if you can do it. And actually it played very, very quickly with only one player. So he just went through, he actually got out and won. So he actually did the whole thing. Yeah, he got all the way to the thing, got out, and won the whole game. And it was actually fun to watch. And Raef, did you enjoy watching that, even though you
Yes, I wanted to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
So Jeremy was very insistent that he didn't want to continue because he's like, well, it's not a co-op game, so I win. Yeah. And he wasn't trying to be like, nah, I win. Right. He was like, I'm not going to force you guys to watch a game. Like, let's play something else. But Craig, the way I was envisioning it was, I'm like, no. I drank the antidote. Like, if the students win, we win. So I wasn't a zombie. So I felt like I wanted to see if Jeremy could make it out, and I felt like it was a student win, which I was.
Now, the rules are also clear, too, that even though I turned into a zombie, because I was now dead, I did not win. So the only way you can win as a zombie is if that all the other people are dead.
Right.
Except for other dead zombies, and you're still alive at the end. So I was out of the game. By the rules of the game, Raef was out, I was out, but Jeremy did not win. Jeremy has to play, by the rules of the game, he must play to the end. You must play you die or get out. So,
which I loved. I loved that part of it.
Cool, but I could see how people were like, yeah, but it's got player elimination in it, so I guess is what I'm saying. And it's got a potential solo play component. I don't know how often that happens. It's the first time I've ever seen it happen to me, but it could be more often. So that's the only ding against it, and that's why I can't go to quite Raef's lofty heights of 1+.
That's why I went to 1+ for reroll.
But I would agree with Craig. I think this is a 3+. This is a very, very solid game. Yeah, no, I agree. It's a solid game. There's some things in here. I don't think as everybody's going to be enamored with the standees like we are. I think it works really, really well, but I could see people not liking that. And I could see some people not liking the solo play component of it that could happen to you. But otherwise, it's fantastic. And I think I'll give it a reroll. 3+ for the reroll. I think most people will like it. But
Craig, what'd you rate Luchador?
Oh, I don't think we ever did a full review of Luchador.
We have not reviewed Luchador. So there you have it. That is Student Bodies.
Brains.
Raef, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, wait. Ready? There you go.
Not sure that was a duck or someone stepping on a brain. I'm not really sure what happened.
It could have been a couple different things. We don't want to look too carefully. I had Mexican tonight for dinner.
So, Raef, thanks again so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me back on. It was fun.
It's always fun, Raef.
Pleasure as always, Raef. If people want to keep up with your crazy internet antics, what should they do?
Oh, yeah. Well, you can certainly get me over here, which is Hollywood at the D6generation.com. I'm mainly active on my Twitter feed, which is the D6G Hollywood on Twitter.
Yep.
And then the other place that you might want to check out is my new YouTube channel, Raef Hollywood Granger, where I'm fooling around with video and editing and fun stuff like that.
Look at you with the YouTube channel and whatnot.
I know.
All right, well,
he's all super high tech, man.
Yep.
He's the most handsome of us.
Yes.
Go ahead and subscribe over there.
All right. Well, thanks again for joining us, Raef. We'll see you again at the predictions episode in the not-too-distant future.
That's right.
Oh, it's coming up. It's coming up. Big wins. Big wins.
I can't wait.
This edition of Jever Notice is brought to you by everyone participating in this year's Extra Life charity drive all around the world, no matter what hospital you're trying to help out. But especially to those D6G listeners who have stepped up to help Russ and I support and raise money for Boston Children's Hospital, including Jasper Baraveld, Pranav Sandhi, and Paul Wingrove. If you haven't given yet, please go to extra-life.org and help us help the kids as soon as possible. Thanks. Do you ever notice how sometimes it feels like time can just sort of slip away from you and leave you behind? That's sort of how I feel lately, and it started with gaming and sort of extended into other avenues, and I'm not exactly certain how to go about fixing it. Let me explain what I mean. Everybody knows, longtime listeners know, that we have this huge, long-established gaming community that we go to. We've been gaming on Tuesdays, every Tuesday since 1995. So a long time, almost 20 years. And it's been great because for years and years and years, we all played 40K or Fantasy or Necromunda or Mordheim, depending on, the season and what was going on. But we were all playing the same games. And then there was a transformation, and a bunch of my friends decided that they would like to play Dungeons and Dragons, and that included almost all of my closest friends that I've had all my life, not just, this awesome gamer group. And I was nervous, and I thought, they're going to be playing D&D, and they're playing on a day I can't play, and they're dedicating time to it that I can't dedicate to it, even back then. And my fears were fully realized as it became apparent quickly that they weren't going to be able to go on Tuesdays and do their big every weekend Dungeons and Dragons fest. And all of my friends almost stopped going to Tuesdays. And that really, really, it was upsetting. I felt like my friends had chosen something over me, and they didn't. I mean, it was nothing personal, but everybody games for different reasons, and for whatever reason, they, had decided that they were going to play Dungeons and Dragons instead of gaming all the miniatures gaming that we were doing, and off they went. And it literally meant, and I didn't even realize it at that point, but it was worse than my anticipation because I don't see them regularly at all now. So, and I haven't for years and years and years and years and years. And so, that's sort of in my consciousness as I go through life now. And so, recently, over the past few months, I've noticed that, longtime listeners know, I'm not really big into Euro games. I don't enjoy Magic the Gathering at all. And so when Magic the Gathering sort of emerges as a go-to filler game, I get kind of nervous. And it hasn't really ever totally swept the gaming group away, but it happens, and I'm like, oh, great, okay, well, no. And it's to the point where it's not something I'm going to learn how to play just so that I have something to play. I mean, War Machine and Hordes I learned so that I would have something to play. Magic the Gathering and Euro games, I don't enjoy them at all. There's no enjoyment at all, so it's not like there's something for me to do there, And of course there's the big Dungeons and Dragons group where large chunks of my friends are gone for, 1 week a month, or then it's 2 weeks a month, and so on and so forth. And I'm very sensitive about that. So I'm like, wow. So the group dynamic is shifting sort of dramatically. And, very recently, Euro games seem to have swept the group to the point where on your average Tuesday, I would walk in and literally none of my friends would be playing any game that I would want to play. And that was, unfortunately, sort of leading up to Gen Con and then right after Gen Con. And I was getting my games in, and I was able to get my friends to play games. And there are some friends like Pete, who doesn't come very often anymore. He's super, super busy, but he'll play, my kind of games. But it felt like all the miniatures gamers, and the short form board gamers, they were playing games that I didn't want to play anymore. And so I got kind of bitter. I got kind of bent. That's where I started going to movies on Tuesdays instead of gaming. And then the play started. And so now I'm finding myself like really disinterested in, even when I have a moment, like I'm like, I don't want to pry a moment away from my family, where I have very little time during the play anyway, to run across the river, that would be the Merrimack River, and check out what everybody's playing, because nobody's playing anything I'm interested in. And it didn't help that Gen Con for me was kind of a bust. There was no big game that I was super excited about that came out of Gen Con. I mean, I really enjoyed the Black Fleet, and I really enjoyed Student Bodies. But as far as like a really good hobby game I could sink my teeth into, there really wasn't anything. And so I'm now I'm at one of those moments, and I've talked about this in previous Did You Ever Notices, where I'm like, am I really a gamer? And I know I'm a gamer. I enjoy games. I'm building this Warhammer 40,000 army, and I'm enjoying it immensely. I'm super looking forward to Imperial Assault and the fleet, the Star Wars fleet battle that the name escapes me, but that game. So really excited about that. I'm even looking into the third edition. Is it third already? The third edition of Infinity. So I'm confident that I'm a gamer, but I'm very nervous that my gaming group, that's been this big core presence in my life for 20 years, is really changing focus again. And in this time, instead of just one little group within the big core group changing and disappearing, I feel like I'm the one who's like sort of being left behind, and not maybe I'm changing, maybe I'm disappearing, or not changing, and the whole world is changing around me. And it's sort of frustrating, and so I feel very isolated from that group, and annoyed and frustrated, I'll admit also. And that comes at a time when, because of the play, I'm pretty much isolated from everything else that I'm doing. So my writing is I don't write a lot. And so I feel very isolated from that, which is not a good thing, because that's an isolating, situation anyway, where you write alone, and then you work with your, editor, and then you send it out, and then it's gone, and you don't know, you get some copies back, and it's like, yay, cool. But other than that, it's like it never existed, never happened. I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know how it's doing. Nobody really tells me anything. So you feel like you're really isolated, from that. So, I'm really feeling like the only connection right now that I have to gaming is through Russ and the podcast. So that's intriguing. It's a very intriguing. I don't know that I've felt quite this isolated before, and it's a very odd feeling. And I feel like I'm going to have to actively do something to sort of break back into the group that I helped found 20 years ago. And so I'm sort of bitter and resentful about that too, which is not a valid emotion, but that's just where I am. And so I'm feeling a lot of the anxiety that I used to feel, back in college, meeting a bunch of new people. I'm not meeting a bunch of new people. I'm having to sort of put myself out there again, which again causes the resentment. And so I'm just I'm sort of at a loss. I guess I'm looking forward to hopefully showing up on a Tuesday as soon as the play is over, and I'm just halfway done with the play, so I still got weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to go. And hoping that everybody's like playing games that I like, because right now in my headspace, which is not necessarily connected to reality, everybody's playing games or talking about games that I'm not interested in. They're talking about Steam. They're talking about video games. They're talking about console games on the email threads. They're talking about role-playing games that I either can't do because of time commitments or I'm not interested in. And they're talking about going different places and doing different things. And I'm just like, I don't know. So I'm intrigued where this is going to take me and where I'm going to go. A little nervous. A little anxious, but yeah, I normally I have a place, a destination in mind when I started. Did you ever notice that I hope is helpful, or I hope is at least entertaining or illuminating? And this time I have nothing. I have fear and anxiety and frustration. And an inability at this moment in time to actually do anything about it. So I guess that's all I've got to talk about, except for Extra Life. You guys have got to step up. This is Extra Life this year. It's tough. I know the economy in the U.S. is rough. I understand that. It's rough for all of us, but it's rough for those kids. It's rougher for those kids, the kids that are sick, the kids that are going to these hospitals that need these hospitals and can't afford them on their own. Extra Life is an awesome, awesome, awesome charity where 100% of this money goes to these hospitals, to these kids. And it's just a great opportunity, and not just for Boston Children's Hospital, around the world. So if you've given to somebody else, or you've given to another hospital, or you're on a team and you're raising money, that's awesome. You are 100% doing what I'm asking you to do. I don't want you, in addition, to donate to me. As long as you're involved somehow, it's a great opportunity not to be missed. So that is my connection with gaming right now. That is my uplifting, illuminating moment. Haha, you experienced it with me on the air. There you go. I'm a gamer because I'm doing Extra Life. I don't know what games I'm going to play, but I'm going to do it, and I'm doing it, and I need your help, and the kids need your help, and that makes me a gamer. I game, therefore I am a gamer. I don't know. That's all I've got to talk about this week and 2-week binary. Good night.
Achievement unlocked. You've made it to the end of another D6 Generation episode, the podcast whose humor has universally been acclaimed as not too horrible. Please let us know what you thought of the show by either emailing us at info@the d6generation.com or by posting in our official D6G episode thread at the top of the DACA discussions forum on DACA.com. If for some inexplicable reason you actually enjoyed this show, you can help others find out about it by leaving positive reviews on iTunes. See you in 2 weeks. Thanks for listening, and happy gaming.
The theme from Total Fangirl comes from the soundtrack of The Last Night on Earth, the zombie game, courtesy of Flying Frog Productions, and is a composition of Mary Beth Magalanes.
Craig, give me some noise.
Whoop whoop. Give me some whoop whoop. Give me some noise. Whoop whoop. Give me some whoop whoop. Give me some noise.
Is that a song? I don't think
no,
it is.
I just made it up.
All right, good.
Cut that. Keep it, because someday it's going to be worth something.
Someday it'll be worth something. Craig's hit. That's when it first came out. You heard it here first, 2014, D6 Generation.
I want that to be my new tagline. Cut that. Keep it. Someday it's going to be worth something.
That'll be your new front thing.
Yeah.
That's good.
Wait.